What's up, everybody? Welcome to the lab. I'm your host, Joshua Diaz. And tonight we got a special show for you. We're going to take some calls and have some conversations, which is one of the more popular things that we've been doing lately on here. And as always, we have Dr. Gary Brucato for those call-ins because people love to pick the doctor's brain. Dr. Gary is a forensic psychologist, and he oversees community outreach, conducts workshops. It says something like 35 written, what is it, articles on the subject of psychotic illness and violence. Well, I can't hear you. You're muted.
No, it's 100. You must be looking at some old bio.
I think it's an old one. Yeah. So it's over 100 now.
Yeah, I've written almost 100 book chapters, books and articles on violence and psychotic illness. Yes, those are my specialty areas.
And you research the largest mass murder database in history, along with
Dr. Gertz, right, at Columbia. Yeah. That's when I was in the directorship there. I was the assistant director. He was the director of the COPE Clinic, which is an early psychosis clinic. And we worked mostly on defining the new diagnosis, the attenuated psychosis syndrome, added to the DSM-5 in the appendix, and then, something that can be, I think, diagnosed now under psychosis NOS. So I'm very proud of that. And but my work was to help define the characteristics of it, and particularly how it's related to violence. And so that overlap is my big area, But of course, I also work with the Cold Case Foundation, and
you work with, which is a wonderful organization, and you've been you guys do wonderful work there.
I work with Ann Burgess at Boston College, where I'm a visiting scholar. And
you were a true crime guy before true crime was a popular subject.
This is true, and yes, but I'm most proud of I think probably of all the things I've done. I remain most proud of the New Evil, and which I'm sure a lot of people in the audience have read, and that's the it was often the #1 bestseller in forensic psychology on Amazon, but you can get it anywhere. You can get it at Barnes & Noble or any major bookstore, although there's now a new printing of it, and they made the book like thinner with a different size font, and I noticed it's printed now in India, and it looks very different. I have to be honest that I like the earlier edition of it. I think the quality of it is nicer, but if you buy it at Barnes & Noble now, you see that they've kind of gone to this different looking edition, and it's kind of
why do they do that? Is there a reason?
I would guess it saves cost. Have it printed overseas or something, but it looks a little different to me. There's something about I'm very resistant to change and things like that, and I don't like I still resist changes to grammar and colloquialisms that people use and things like that. That I still can't accept the Oxford comma, things like that.
Yeah.
And as a consequence, a change to the appearance of the book, it just bugged me to no end.
You also don't like when people say literally.
You mean when they mean figuratively?
Yes, correct.
It's extremely annoying. But there's a lot of things like that people do in language that bother me, because today I heard somebody say with a perfectly straight face, they said irregardless, which is not a word. What they did was they made a new word by mixing irrespective and regardless.
Yeah, well, basically all you would have to say is regardless.
Or irrespective. But when you put two words together like that, it's called a portmanteau. And a portmanteau is where you take two semantically similar words and you combine them and you make a new word. And it is not necessary to do it, because that actually drives me crazy. Yes, I agree. Golden Texas. I could care less is also.
I think about that one a lot too.
Yeah, it's pretty annoying. There are some that are. What were you going to say?
It's you couldn't care less.
I couldn't care less, right? And there are some that are lesser known misnomers. Like, for example, to say when someone says I got aggravated, they mean to say I got agitated, to aggravate is different. It's very different. You aggravate a situation, but a person gets agitated, not aggravate.
Right.
My all-time favorites is when a person says, "I got nauseous." They mean to say nauseated. Nauseous means you make something throw up.
Really?
Of course, nauseous means like noxious, like I make you puke. But
Mhm.
you're not supposed to say. I mean, it slipped into proper English now, but there was a time when if you said "I'm nauseous," it would have meant you make people puke.
We used to just call it calling on the dinosaurs.
What?
Yeah. You don't know what that means?
What does that mean? Call on the dinosaurs.
Like you're throwing up into the ground. You're yelling for the dinosaurs.
Oh, it's a euphemism for barfing.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I like that one.
Thank
That's
you.
good.
Yeah. Or
Is that your favorite?
no, I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's just one that was said a lot. Like if you were at like a party, you're like, oh, where's Jimmy at? Or like, he's calling the dinosaurs. Like, "No, okay.
Oh, very interesting. I
So
would have thought it meant something very different, like he was on the phone with Congress. Now, I will tell you, my favorite of all
Mitch
the
McConnell.
yeah, he's like, yeah, maybe, and it's a sort of antiquated tortoise. But I think my favorite term for that is probably blowing chunks.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one too.
Yes. Where's Fred? He's upstairs blowing chunks.
Long chunk. Yeah.
I don't know why that's funny.
I don't either, but it is. It's very descriptive, but yeah, that's a good one too. I like that one. But yeah, also you can get that if you still want to read his book after this conversation, Dr. Gary's book, the
It's a
new
great
evil
stocking stuffer if your family is demented and like the hills have eyes or something.
likes
Then
to blow chunks. Yeah.
stocking stuffer.
Yeah, spew chunks. Yeah. You know what? You know what I like a term that I like when something like smells bad. You say that's rank.
Oh yes, that's a good one. Yes.
Yeah. Do you use that one?
Rank? Yeah. That's a very old one. That goes all the way back, I think, to Elizabethan English or something.
Yeah. Does it really?
Oh,
I like that one for some reason.
that's an old one.
Lori says Ralphing. Ralphing's a good one.
Ralphing's a good one. Yeah. In New York, when something is really bad, we say it stinks on ice.
Stinks. Why is that?
Because it means that even if you put it on ice, it would smell like a fish that if you put it in the refrigerator, it would still smell. You'd say it stinks on ice. So you say, like, did you go see that performance of Cats at the local high school? Yeah, it stinks on ice. Don't see.
Yeah. Oh, okay. No, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I've heard that. I've heard the term before, but usually I just say something sucks. But I'm a simple man in more than one way.
Yes. To say something sucks, it pretty much sums it up. Yes.
I think it does. I think that it's one of the most descriptive things that you could do. So anyway, what we're gonna do tonight, we're gonna do a call-in. Same way we always do. Link will be pinned at the top. And we'll try and move through as many as we can. Obviously, Dr. Gary is not allowed to give personal clinical advice. However, I am. So you're in luck. And
do that, Dr. Phil.
I'm just saying, like, nobody's gonna get me in trouble. But no, in all seriousness, no. So that's. But if you have a question, if I know people like to. Right now, the hot topic is Ed Gein or Gein, and
I appreciate that correct German pronunciation.
I got in a huge argument with my son about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because when I tried to tell him that it was Gein, he told me I didn't know what I was talking about.
Did he toe the line and start to say Gein, or
no? I tried to put him in a chokehold.
So it was a pain and still said gain.
Even when I had him in a chokehold.
Did we just accidentally make a poem? I think we did. I have to go back and listen to that, but I think that was a poem.
I'm gonna ignore it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was an accidental. That was weird. But anyway, okay, sorry.
All right, so pinned at the top. And also, Dr. Gary is a musician as well, on top of a true crime, not only a true crime aficionado, but a professional in the true crime community. He's also a pianist.
I appreciate your resisting making a joke about that. I know you want to.
No, I don't.
Good. Very good.
I don't think so.
I know you want to.
But
But
maybe
anyway,
I don't know. I don't know if I do or not. I might want to. I don't know. But you're a pianist and a very talented one. And we please, if you would, we will put his, and also I will link it in the description below after the show is over. But please go check him. He is a fantastic pianist.
well, I thank you for calling me that. I do appreciate that. Pianist, I guess, would be the way to prevent it sounding like something else. But I compose most of the music that's there, it, you'll see it. I do covers of things. I mean, everything from, in the past week, I did everything from like a cover of a Nirvana song to a piece of classical style music that I did. There's a link there for, if you like the music and you want to give a virtual tip, there's a little PayPal link. And some people that are here in the audience actually, were very kind and sent, a couple of dollars. And that was nice. I mean, I enjoyed a cup of coffee on you. So thank you. But that's not obviously what's important. I just like to use it as an outlet. A lot of people are always asking me, how do you get through the day when your head is filled with all these horrible things that you see in your work? The answer is, you have to carve out a place for some kind of artistic expression. It's like popping the abscess. You need something to do that. And so I used it like that. And now I've got over 1,000 people that subscribe. I'm sure that's going to continue to grow. And so I appreciate it very much. And if you're not already watching, please do. And please do comment. I get some very interesting comments. I will put it to you like that. I think I've been proposed to maybe 2 times in the past weeks. That was certainly interesting. I have gotten some people who try to be critical and give me tips on how to play. That's always fun.
Really?
But yes, those are definitely gemstones. But most of the time, like 99% of the time, they're very kind people. Some people are, unique. But most people are very kind. But nobody, who says like, this is awful, this stinks, this makes me want to blow chunks, this stinks on ice. Most people are very, very positive. They just have little, kind of tips.
What does that mean?
What? What does what mean?
Linda O'Hearn says popping the abscess, really?
Oh, because I made the comparison that when you build up, the residue of all the terrible things that I have to hear all day long. I mean, suicidal people, violent people, people who have murdered children, sexual perversions that have harmed other people, and other, mass shootings, whatever, either that I'm studying or where I'm working with someone in a jail or I'm talking to a person that's been victimized what happens is that it builds up and there's pressure, in a way, and you need something to alleviate it, like when you pop an abscess. And I think that's what art does. It's like balm for the brain, and so that's what it does, for me.
You use the term pop. You use that term abscess.
Yeah, I said it's like popping an abscess. Yeah,
I gotta pay attention more, man.
I figured that's why you keep inviting me on. You just don't listen to anything I'm saying. That's why I'm here. Yeah, if you listened, I would have been uninvited a long time ago.
Well, now that you've been blowing chunks and popping abscess.
Do you know how many blacklists I'm probably on? I mean, are you kidding me?
I wouldn't think many.
Please.
You think so? Really?
My whole life, I've gotten myself on blacklists.
How?
Because my way of thinking about things is different than. I mean, when I was younger, I went to the school newspaper and told them that it didn't make sense to me there wasn't an obituary column in the school newspaper. And I said it just to be funny, but nobody thought it was funny.
No, it's not funny. How many kids are dying at the
I'm morbid.
You're
Huh?
sick. You're sick. An obituary.
I'm morbid. I just think it's funny. I can't help myself.
That is morbidly
But when
obese.
I was a kid and I played Monopoly or chess, my family still tells this story. When we played Monopoly or chess, I kept in the box, like especially a Risk, for the game of Risk, I kept in the box black gloves that I would put on to play. And then I would say, in like some kind of Teutonic accent, that we were going to play. It's just my sense of humor. I always had that sense of humor my whole life. Once for Halloween, I went in a tie and a white shirt and slacks and pants and rang the doorbell and told people I was the IRS. I said, candy or furniture? This is my sense of humor. I think it's morbid.
All right.
Come on. You would have found me funny growing up. Come on.
I find you funny right now.
You know what the sad thing is? I don't try to be.
That's why I find you funny.
Right. It's just my personality. And my whole life I've been that way. I'm a caricature of a true crime figure.
You're a cartoon character.
I'm kind of a cartoon character. It's true.
Yeah. All right. So we got some calls. Thank God. Like I said, the landing or the takeoffs can be bumpy, but the landings are usually pretty smooth here. Josh, are you drinking a tall blonde? I certainly am drinking a tall blonde latte.
Very good. And Carol Ann, whose name amuses me because of Poltergeist. Carol Ann, I own every issue ever created of that magazine from the 1950s onward. I collected them my entire life. It was my favorite. In fact, in the piano videos, if you look carefully, you'll see a little effigy of Alfred E. Newman on the piano. Mad has always been my favorite. Favorite. When I was growing up, I went and met the publisher and many of the artists and, had letters and drawings and all kinds of things from them for many years. But yes, I have. That's a very intuitive guess that there's a Mad magazine flavor to me. Absolutely. You liked Mad, didn't you, Josh?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah. No. You know what else I liked a lot was Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh yeah, named after the philosophers, of course.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but I was a big fan of Calvin and Hobbes. What philosophers? Calvin and Hobbes?
They're both famous philosophers. They're named after the two famous. How did you like Calvin and Hobbes and not know that?
Because one was like a tiger and one was a little kid.
Who did you like, the tiger or the little kid?
The tiger.
He was pretty cute.
Yeah.
Did you ever wonder if the kid was psychotic, seeing the tiger?
I always just thought he was kind of simple.
You're a fan of those old comic strips?
Mm-hmm.
My favorite is Crazy Cat. I love Crazy Cat. You ever read old Crazy Cat cartoons?
No, I never did.
Oh my God, I love them. But anyway.
I actually have somebody has a subscription to Mad. Wow, that's amazing.
This is a big deal. I could get called on it anytime in the next 3 hours.
Who is that?
Oh.
You're not going to have to wait 3 hours.
Who on earth was that?
Hello?
Yeah, you're not going to have to wait 3 hours. You're on right now.
Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. Excuse me, I didn't realize I was on.
We were hoping you were going to curse up a storm. I wanted you to start cursing at us and call us a couple of, names. It would have been
hilarious. You guys are wonderful. No, I was just laughing because you guys were talking about Calvin and Hobbes, and we didn't realize they were named after philosophers. So
who would know that besides Dr. Gary? That's what I'm saying. Nobody else in the chat knows that. And then when he goes, you didn't know that? Like it's some common knowledge.
How did you not know that?
Don't you feel like a complete dork because you don't know? We don't know. We'd like to know. That's our question. Who are the philosophers that were named, that the Calvin and Hobbes were named after?
I'm going to make Josh pull them up on the screen, and we're going to do it. So go ahead. Look up Calvin and look up Hobbes, the philosophers. Go ahead.
I'll do it.
Thank you. Who's that? Who is that voice? That disembodied voice?
It's the other person. Yeah, another person.
Is there someone living inside of you? Is your name?
Are you talking about John Calvin?
It's my alter ego.
Okay. I
No.
want you to start with Thomas Hobbes.
Wait a minute. Are you
Thomas
talking about
Hobbes.
John Calvin?
Go ahead. Go to Thomas Hobbes. Start
Go
with
to
Thomas
Thomas Hobbes.
I know, but I'm asking you. John Calvin is one of
Yes.
them.
John
Go ahead.
Calvin.
I want you to read. I want you to look up Thomas Hobbes and read it to the audience.
Oh God. Okay, here we go.
We have Calvin, but we don't have Thomas Hobbes.
Thomas Hobbes and John Calvin.
Thomas Hobbes.
That
he was
wasn't the real question I wanted to ask you, but
All right, go ahead. We'll let you have another question. Go
It's
ahead.
not. This
Thank
is not
you
a
so
question
much.
at all.
So I am a mental health therapist, and I've been listening to your show, and just think the world of you both. And my question is, I know many times Dr. Gary has mentioned that rise of narcissism due to the increase in social media, and many of our young adults are on social media.
An increase in a lot of things, as close that. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So my concern is, as a mental health therapist, is the increase and how that could affect the rise of frequency in criminal behavior, and how I can best support or identify potential people that could be prone to violence. Or I mean, it's kind of a scary time, because you only know what people will tell you.
Well, first of all, if violence was as associated with serious mental illness as people would have you believe, you would see that the rate should pretty much stay static across every country and across time and space, because it would be biological, right? The rate should not change. It should just be the same everywhere. That's why, like, the notion, for example, that mass shootings are related to serious mental illness, but they happen almost nowhere but America, is ridiculous. I mean, the idea makes no sense. If it was caused by psychosis, it would be everywhere equally. So that doesn't make sense. And even if you take away the guns, you would use other things to commit mass murders, and they don't. So there's obviously something personality based and situational. And when it comes to crime, the things that you want to look at are drugs and alcohol. If those increase in a given place, you're going to have more disinhibition and crime. And the other is changes to personality structure. The personality structures that are generally associated with crime are sort of like the cluster B traits.
Right.
The antisocial personality, the sadistic kind of personality, which can be at the extreme end of psychopathy, right? And sometimes with the kind of disinhibited, inappropriate kind of style you can see in some people who have borderline organizations. But the idea is you're really looking at people who have narcissistic traits, antisocial traits, sadistic traits being the core of most crime. And once you understand that, you know that if you're in a culture which increases the attention on the self, takes away the philosophical, spiritual ideas that made people inclined towards putting other people first and inhibiting the self and valuing that, increases drug and alcohol use, and the entire culture is essentially addicted to something giving it dopamine at all times, which is a kind of, you wind up with this terrible soup. Then on top of it, you have a lot of people that are walking around who are having the notion of getting in trouble and getting attention for it reinforced. So that there's this idea like, I'm empty and I don't have anything in my life, but I'll get a Wikipedia page and be on the front page of the paper.
Attention, yeah.
So there is that issue too. And you also have a lot of people who are feeling completely psychologically empty.
Yeah.
So that the emptiness mixed with all those other things creates this terrible void, a dangerous void. And I personally think that as a consequence, crime is changing. There are crimes that simply could not have happened prior to the 1960s in the Western world because the technology didn't exist. But there are also crimes that simply wouldn't have happened because you didn't have the audacity that is currently existing in individuals. So, like, prior to the 1970s, there was no case of somebody, removing a fetus from somebody else to say,
God.
And that's a crime that Michael Stone and I named. We called it fetus snatching. If you look
Yes.
it up,
I read your book. Yes.
yeah, if you look it up in Wikipedia, I mean, it says we named it. That we called it that because it didn't have a name.
Yes.
There are other names people have applied, and there are a lot of crimes like that simply didn't exist. And that's why, and people who know the show have heard me say many times that one of the worst things you could do with me as a person is go with me to a place like, to a department store that sells like tools and, hardware and whatever, because I can tell you a crime that was committed with pretty much anything. You point, right? So you point to the microwave, you point to the nails, you point to the vacuum cleaner, you point to the, and I'm going to say, in this year, there was a crime that was committed by so-and-so using that thing. And, because the new evil is very much rooted in the notion that crime is changing as personalities change and as culture changes and as technology increases. It is a terrible time in terms of crime. So everyone puts the emphasis on the frequency of crime and getting the frequency down, but they don't think about the intensity of it, the horror of crime. So that, like, for example, 60 years ago, a front page story would have been, a boy that got upset with his parents and killed them. Now that would be buried on like page 18, and even something as horrible as like someone, mutilating their romantic partner and eating them wouldn't be on the front page. Our tolerance level
desensitized,
change, yes. So that it's very, very hard to get, and that's why it gets into this fascinating question of why Cricket Day is funny. Not that many. That's just my baseline. But it's funny. I hope I'm not coming across like that. But am I, Josh, coming across like that?
No,
like overly Catholic or something. But
it's pretty on par.
No, you've dedicated all of your professional time, and yes, you understand. You have this breadth of knowledge. It's just, I can't imagine how you compartmentalize that. But
well, the piano helps. But that's the abscess I was trying to talk about. That somebody got like scandalized that I said you have to pop it, but you do, and or get infected, and it could kill you. Could kill a person's spirit. But I think that the other thing that you are opening up that is very, very interesting in terms of the calls we might get is that, I know Cricket Day is that there are certain cases that I cannot understand why they were the most famous cases of the time. See, like, so for example, I cannot understand the fuss that was made about Brian Koberger. Koberger to me is and now listen, from the perspective of the victims, that's a big deal. But when you're talking about him, he's sort of a nothing burger. I don't understand. I don't understand it at all. I can't figure it out. It might be because he's like a seemingly normal, everyday looking, Caucasian male, that a lot of people who are into true crime identified with him or something like that. I don't know what the story is. Maybe they identified with the victims, young, attractive Caucasian women. For some strange reason, no one seems to care about crimes that involve different people demographically. 95% of crime involving Native Americans is not reported in the newspapers. What is that about? Another example of that is Gabby Petito. The session the media had with Gabby Petito fascinated me.
So sad.
It's a very interesting case, but why that case and not a different one?
Right.
Why were we so riveted by those, and I think that's an interesting question. Do you ever think about that, Josh? Like, why did we care so much about Brian Koberger?
Yeah, I think about that all the time. But also, I sort of understood why the media picks up on ones that they do, like Casey Anthony, and then they pick up on Lacey Peterson. When Lacey Peterson went missing, right around the same time, a young lady also went missing and was found in the bay as well. and along with her son, and it was not reported on at all. I mean, it was, but it was drowned. It was just completely drowned out by everything.
See, I think that in our culture, and it reminds me of the movie Network from the 70s, is that the dividing line between entertainment and true crime is so thin that people like true crime stories that have an element of drama and in which the people involved almost look sort of telegenic. And it's like there's something about this, where the offender or something, it's like they think of it almost like it's a movie. They don't understand that what you're dealing with are actual people. And they think of it like movie of the week, like they're like a Fletcher, like watch solving the. And I think that's very odd, because for me, I'm looking at this like, through a clinical lens. For me, all these cases are interesting, but the reality is Brian Kohberger was a garden variety mass murderer probably with a sexualized motive that didn't get to be played out. And that's it. There's nothing that interesting about him. The only thing I could think of is that he's interesting to people because they thought that his motive was inscrutable, like that they were going to solve the puzzle or something. But beyond that, I don't get it. I mean, there's so many cases that need attention. And it gets on my nerves a little bit.
Some of them, like you said, some of them are sexualized, like it's like one of those, like with Gabby Petito, she was a young, pretty girl. Casey Anthony, same way. These are young people like starting their lives. Lacey Peterson.
We think they're movie stars. They're people.
Correct. And then you have Ed Gein with the TV show.
But he's interesting because he's like an avatar of how do I say this? It's gotten so hard to shock people through crime with the everyday drama of lives and so forth that you have to go to a case where there was psychosis involved because it was so over the top. Because it's like people are not interested anymore in things. You see, so like for example, with my specialty in mass murder, it's very, very hard to get anyone who wants to do a show about it. They're not interested in talking about mass shooters, probably because half of the viewers are going to be gun-toting. But it's also the idea that you have the people just don't find it interesting. It doesn't titillate them, and and I hate to say it, but I think that true crime has turned into a business.
Sure,
entertainment element to it, and it sickens me. So what you're touching on, what the caller is touching on, I think opens up a very interesting can of worms about that. The modern era is terrible in terms of crime, but it's also terrible in terms of how our fascination with it has put a mirror to everything that is hideous about most of us changing in terms of what interests us and titillates us and fascinates us, because the whole culture is sort of sick. See what I mean? So you have to start with a story that's like, Ed Gein. I mean, but Ed Gein was schizophrenic. He was a disorganized schizophrenic man who committed serial killing for reasons that are rarely seen in the period post 1960. Right? That's not most serial killers are sexually motivated and not psychotic at all. See?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so I really appreciate your call, and I hope that you'll read New Evil and you'll learn a little bit about what's changing in the culture.
It's very obvious, actually. Unfortunately, from everything that we're seeing in the news, it's mind-boggling and devastating. So I appreciate you both so much. Thank you for your work.
It's very sweet of you to call, and I love that you didn't know you were live for a minute there. I was fascinated.
I'm so sorry about that. Well, I know sometimes the show goes on for like several hours, and I thought, well, I'm in the show, but I'll wait and see. We're not sure.
We got you in right away.
Thank you so much, both of you, very, very much for all the hard work you guys do.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Sure. All right, moving on. We got another call.
She was very nice.
Very nice. Joey H., go ahead. You're on the air.
Hi, guys. Miss you guys. Glad you're back. Can you hear me?
What's up, Joey?
Hey, what's up?
Hi,
Joey.
We
look.
know you intimately at this point. We're like BFFs now.
Yeah. I did give a review to your book, by the way. I don't know if you saw it on Amazon. I did give it a glowing review last week. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You made it radioactive. I appreciate it.
Before I ask a topic or two, I wanted to. Did you ever think about being an exorcist? And I'm serious about that because I think you'd be an incredible exorcist. And you can't laugh. You're all into the new evil. You're into evil. You went to seminary school. You're custom built to exorcise demons from people. You should go to Idaho and see what you can do with Koberger. You should consider being an exorcist.
I can't figure out if you're trying to be funny or if you're serious.
He's not. He's dead serious.
I'm not. I'm serious, man.
Although it is funny, though.
The question is, Josh, let's go together and we'll be like the old priest and the young priest. I feel a little bit more like Jason Miller, though, the younger priest, because he was a psychiatrist. I mean,
yes,
he was a psychiatrist priest.
Yes,
and he had the intense kind of Mediterranean look going on. In real life, he was a playwright. He's very interesting, and a kind of recluse in a lot of ways. And
And you'd take one for the team. You'd go down. You'd let the demon throw you down the stairs. You would take one for the team.
Throw me down the stairs. Listen, in all seriousness, I'm joking, but in all seriousness, did you see The Exorcist 3?
Yes, I did.
What did you think of that movie?
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Extremely disturbing, I think.
Yeah, with the flipping of the head, they would flip the head backwards.
Yeah, it was pretty disturbing.
George C. Scott was in that. That was a great movie.
Oh, I'm crazy about George C. Scott. He's one of my favorite actors.
There's a third one?
Yes, it was really disturbing. It's based on the book Legion, which is a follow-up book that was done by the author William Peter Blatty, and it is even the opening sequence where the African-American boy is crucified on oars with ingots driven through his eyes haunted me like for a long time. And anyway,
the power of Christ.
Anyway, when you retire, just keep it in mind. Joey H recommended you to be an exorcist. Before I ask real quick, also the Kenneth Bianchi. I was watching the Ed Gein thing, and I went into a rabbit hole of all of these characters. And they have a great Peacock doc on this on the Hillside Stranglers.
He contacted me through another true crime person, and I have a funny story about that. But
the Bianchi guy.
And I'm trying to figure out why someone in the audience is saying one of us is a Muppet, but that's another story. I'm not sure which one is most Muppet-like, but
Gary, you know, he legally changed his name after he did the multiple personality nonsense. He just legitimately legally changed his name to Anthony D'Amato after the Peacock doc. He legally changed his name.
You know who's according to a witness, whose favorite serial killer is Kenneth Bianchi, is Rex Heuermann. A woman who went out with the accused Gilgo Beach killer, at least claims that she did, said that he started talking about favorite serial killers and said that he was the favorite. And it's very interesting because Heuermann and Bianchi both lost fathers young. And the interesting thing is, in the case of Bianchi, as I recall, the father died related to a breathing issue, and he was an asphyxiator of people. So I always interpreted it that the idea was like that I am going to arbitrate through the manipulation of breath when a person lives and dies, lives or dies or leaves me, that kind of thing. And I thought it was very interesting that Heuermann, if he is guilty, would identify with that killer of all people. I also think there was a little bit of the way that Koberger seems to have been obsessed with Bundy, because Bianchi was exaggeratedly nice looking. He was a sort of suave, handsome serial killer that could manipulate and pick people up and get them to kind of go home with him and so forth. Someone in the audience said, in a deeply disturbing way, something along the lines of wishing that they were possessed so that I could exorcise them. I am not tying anybody to any bed. Thank you. But what on earth was that about? So, okay. But I think that Joey, it's an interesting idea, to think about Bianchi. And Bianchi, I was told, saw the new evil.
No, but do you think it's related to some kind of identity crisis that he has by him doing that?
Bianchi,
Yeah.
I think
Right.
Bianchi is a sexually sadistic killer, typical. And I mean, I think it's as simple as that. And I think he had some kind of unresolved object relations stuff related to home and his mother. I think clearly he had major issues with. But it seems from my understanding of the case. But the idea is, Bianchi, I was told, saw the new evil. And I only know this secondhand, so take it the way you will. And apparently told this person who had gone in to talk to him that he didn't like the notion of the scale and where he would fall in the scale.
Wow.
Like as if it's, not enough or not, or too high or something like that. Some serial killers contacted me and Michael and had issues with their placement in the scale. One of whom was Larry Bittaker. Lawrence Bittaker did not like the idea that you're stuck in your rating. Like he didn't like the idea that like once you've tortured multiple people, you're going to be a 22 forever. He felt like it should be more like a thermometer and the temperature would change, you know what I mean, depending upon the day. He didn't like that it's based on the worst thing you ever did.
You wanted it to be a sliding scale?
Kind of, yeah. That sounds like something he would want. But he, so it is interesting. And I've gotten some pretty fascinating mail from people that think about the rating and where they would be. And I just think that's absolutely fascinating. But so Bianchi supposedly had an issue. Now, who knows if that story is true, but that's what I was told. And I always wondered how he'd get a copy. But supposedly he read it. Where do you want to go?
I have my serious important question is, and I want to hear what you guys have to say about this, or what you guys have heard about this, because it's a new thing they're doing in California, where they're using VR and AI for people in solitary confinement.
Oh yeah,
and they're trying to they're creating these environments like going to the Eiffel Tower or having Thanksgiving dinner with a family.
Right.
And I'm wondering, first of all, what are your thoughts about that kind of a program? And also, do you think in the future, as AI continues to advance at such an accelerated rate, do you think VR and AI could be used almost as a way to study perhaps young individuals like a Koberger that's been brought up, or people at the beginning stages of serial violence or homicidal violence in general? After an arrest, could VR and AI be used as a form, almost like harm reduction, like what they use for drugs, giving syringe needle programs and stuff? Could they study? Basically, what I'm saying is, could they isolate these individuals while they're incarcerated and just do a study of how often and rate it? How do they use VR to commit homicides and murders through this, almost like video games, almost like an illusion, and do it like a controlled study of that? What are your thoughts about that?
Very hard, because people in prison are a protected population, meaning it's extremely difficult to acquire within ethical standards the ability to study them. And so that's a problem already from the get-go. The issue is that you're going to run into privacy concerns. So like, for example, let's say you were able to figure out that there's a certain structure of language that people post online that is a little bit more associated with people who go out and commit a mass shooting. So then you start identifying everyone who goes on Twitter and says something that sounds a little off. Well, the problem is you're going to wind up with a very high false positive rate, because those crimes are so rare. I mean, you're going to wind up catching many, many of the wrong people in the net. And a lot of those people, may wind up on the net and have a hard time getting out of it because they've been flagged and they weren't doing anything that should capture them. It's sort of like, you ever go on the internet and then randomly you'll get a message like, we've detected some unusual activity on your device. Please use this CAPTCHA, to whatever. And you're sitting there going like, what did I do? Like, I was just Googling, like where to eat dinner. but it's because you're getting picked up in some wrong, algorithm or something. And, now the thing about AI that's interesting, I think, to talk about is more, I think it's wonderful that you're thinking about how it could be used to study and catch people. But I think that the AI has potential to be used in very dangerous ways. For example, anyone who studies sex offenders knows that sex offenders have already figured out that they can use websites where you can generate VR, you can generate pornography with anything that you can imagine in it, have already learned how to put the faces of people that they pick up in photos that they photographed on the street, or a celebrity or a neighbor or a person they're crushing on and looking at on, scoping out their social media, and they take a photo, a screen cap. They can incorporate that photo through AI into pornography and make deep fakes, blackmail people, etc. It's also very, very disturbing that you can use AI to create childlike imagery and things like that. So you're seeing a lot of stuff like this, and the law has got to catch up, because AI, sort of like the metaverse, is like the Wild West. I mean, you need laws that really start to catch up with the things people are going to begin to do. So, simple example, I did a show with Chris McDonough and people from other people from the Cold Case Foundation on the dangers of the metaverse. And I read a study that said that it was something like 2 minutes on average that a child or a woman is in the metaverse before they're touched by a male. Just 2 minutes. Now, imagine that was real life, and people felt that there was impunity for having that impulse. Would that happen in real life too? Would they walk up to a child or a woman every 2 minutes and touch them? So, yeah, we're learning some stuff, but I think that we really have to, the law needs to catch up with this stuff. And let me tell you, if there's any person in the audience who would not be uncomfortable about the idea that somebody could pretend that they're looking at their cell phone on the train or something and be snapping a photo of your face and then take that face and incorporate it into fake pornography, and then find out who you are through some kind of Google image search or something, contact everyone and share it with them, or threaten them that you're going to distribute it to their LinkedIn connections, or if you don't give me money or something like that, you start realizing how disturbing this stuff is. And we have got to catch up legally. And Josh, you realize how dangerous this stuff is.
Well, I think actually it's something that I think about all the time, because I mean, I as somebody that is on the internet quite often, I get fooled by stuff, and it's hard to tell like what's real and what's fake as AI gets better and better, and that's what's going to happen.
Josh, this is where you and I rip off our faces, and we're actually different people.
Yeah,
so, gentlemen have been speaking to you.
This whole show has been AI. We would talk about
reptile, right? Exactly. I'm actually an aardvark named,
Yeah.
But
I'm Batman, but it's weird. I mean, it really is, and the lack of, like you said, the lack of laws kind of controlling it. It's going to be. God knows what other foreign countries, are up to with it as well, because we don't regulate, we can't regulate that, and we can only regulate the stuff that's done here. So, it is a big concern. I know the thing about they call it the deep fake with the swapping out of the faces. They take a portion of people's voices now, and all they need is just like a little sentence from somebody. And then AI can duplicate that voice, pretty accurately. There are some tells, but not a lot.
But in the future, what's going to happen. There's going to be a movie that comes out, and it's going to be the first movie that stars a bunch of really famous people who are dead.
Wow!
Right, the comeback of Marlon Brando.
Well, it's funny you say that.
You're going to see that. I mark my words.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because The Irishman, which was a movie that was done on Netflix with Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, they actually used
De-aging.
They made them look much younger than they were, and it was very convincing, and it was actually kind of cool. But you sit there and they change the eye color of the actors and make them very. I mean, they made De Niro look like he was a middle-aged guy with kids, and he's not that.
Well, but it's. I'm telling you, the other thing I'm convinced is going to happen is when you have a leader who is really more of a cult figure than an actual human. They're larger. I think you're going to see that they're kept alive perpetually through AI. So you could have the leader pass away and they're still being kept alive on the screen talking to you, like as if they're still
Antichrist
kind of thing. That kind of thing disturbs me, but I think in the future that'll happen. I'm sure of it, because you can keep a person alive electronically forever, even if their physical body is dead. The AI can, it's like the person's way of speaking and appearance don't ever have to die. And
it's like Tupac when he raps as a hologram.
Tupac raps as a hologram, really?
Yeah, they
friend. That's a little disturbing.
Yeah, they made him a hologram. And he
like goes, well, thanks guys.
We always love you. I don't know how you think of all these questions. I feel like you sit around with a pad or something and you're like,
I take notes and I wait for the show and I bring up some ideas that I want to talk to you about.
Well, we appreciate it. I really do. Thank you for calling.
Yeah. All right, take care, guys.
All right, bye-bye.
Josh, people in the audience are saying we both look very slender.
Really?
Well, listen, I mean, I don't know about you. I mean, I've certainly lost some weight. Have you also?
I have.
Well, there you go. I mean, unless, of course, we're AI.
Well, look, you'll never know.
You'll never know. Imagine we start glitching out. You know what I found out that from someone who works in that industry. I was fascinated to learn when you give a prompt to an AI program to create a video or an image, and it takes you too literally, like if you said put your hand over your head in the image, like like it literally like shows a disembodied hand like over the head, instead of like somebody lifting their that's called hallucinating. And I didn't know that. I find that very interesting that that's called hallucinating. But that is a phenomenon in AI. It's sort of like talking to Amelia Bedelia. It takes you totally literally. You remember Amelia Bedelia, the children's book character? Everything was so literal. Like if you were playing baseball and you said steal home, she would leave the game and lift the house up and run away with it because like she literally stole home, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I personally, I think she had some kind of dementation going on, but or something, but because she was too literal. But I loved her. All right, so who's next?
Alyssa, you're on the air. Where are you calling from? She's got her mic muted.
What?
Alyssa.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I hope my mom is watching. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Because she'd be horrified or she'd be happy?
She's just been begging me to find a way to call you guys. So she's currently studying criminology. She wants to be a PI, and
okay.
We just listen to you guys constantly.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, that's a little scary.
I know, right?
Only listen to us?
Well,
I would never do that.
Well, since I've discovered you, I mean, I realized it was the most mentally stimulating podcast, and if it's for you, it's for you, and that kind of leads into my question.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. You say so, but thank you.
Of course.
I'm gonna put you in touch with some relatives.
Wait, what? Where did he go?
I don't know.
Oh, hi.
Oh.
I don't know what just happened. We just had a little glitch.
An AI glitch.
Oh. All right. All done. Get me out of here.
Just go out and then come back in. Oh, my God. Dr. Gary. First of all, he tells people, oh, man, I can't believe you listen to us. That's not good. That can't service us well, Dr. Gary.
Well, I feel like I'm getting a free college education listening to you guys.
Well, Dr. Gary is a fascinating, and he knows a lot about a lot of stuff. So it's very fun to.
How did you guys get connected?
Chris McDonough.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I've been kind of teamed up with him for a while, years actually.
Oh
And,
wow.
Him and Gary serve on the Cold Case Foundation together. And
Right.
then we started a podcast. I don't know if you've heard the podcast.
I have.
The Witness Box.
Mm-hmm.
And then, kind of since then, it's sort of been, we all just started doing shows and, became really good friends.
That is incredible.
Oh, Alyssa's asking about how we met.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I
Chris
see.
McDonough.
Well, it started in a very seedy location under a damp rock. Yes, there was an alley involved, a bag of money, and Ethel Merman. But we don't have to get into the details.
Ethel Merman.
But anyway, moving along. So Alyssa, what's your question? I think you were saying something about your mother is a big fan, and she suggested that you reach out and you had a question. Okay, so what's the question?
Okay, so first I just want to ask about Ed Gein, because Ed Gein.
Yeah. All right.
Right. So, obviously it's one of the creepiest things ever. But what I'm really fascinated about is that he essentially inspired an entire league of serial killers. And so I wanted to ask you, what big names have we, has he basically inspired? That's first off. Who followed him? And what role did cinema play in that? Did it sort of cause a ripple effect? And had that movie, Psycho, never come out and Silence of the Lambs, would it have maybe decreased the amount of serial killers that there would have been in the future?
It's an interesting question because that particular serial killer has virtually nothing in common with the vast majority of serial killers. Most serial killers are killing in the service of sexual gratification as a mechanism of domination and control over other people to level the playing field against people that have hurt them. The motive for Gein, or Gein, depending upon how you want to pronounce it, was simply that he was a schizophrenic who could not deal with the loss of his identity and the loss of his mother with her passing. And so he developed this extremely bizarre way of preserving her, which was to become her. And the stealing of skins from victims served no other function other than toying with the notion of identity. Even in Psycho, which Robert Bloch based on the story, which came out, less than a decade after those crimes were discovered, there was a sexualized element where, as far as I'm concerned, you are supposed to believe that the Anthony Perkins character, Norman Bates, is probably sexually aroused by Marion Crane, played by Janet Leigh, that is killed. Mm-hmm. In the remake with Vince Vaughn, they go so far as to indicate very clearly that he's masturbating when he looks at her through the painting, which, by the way, is, if you know the painting, is The Bathers, which is not a coincidence that was the painting he's peeping through. I think that by the time you get to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you take away the sexual element, I hope. And there, it's more of that kind of schizoid, detached thing where you're thinking of people the same way you would think about the animals that you kill in an abattoir or something like that, where you just use a sledgehammer and, mutilate them and take their skins off and whatever. And that's picking up on the schizoid element that's present in some schizophrenics. But I think that, it's a little bit of a kind of mischaracterization of serial killers and a mischaracterization of schizophrenics. But so that I think what you want to understand is, like, even to create Jamie Gum in The Silence of the Lambs, you needed to blend him with other serial killers who were more sexually motivated, like Gary Heidnik with the pit, right? And Ted Bundy with the arm trick and all of that. And, Jamie Gum is decidedly not schizophrenic. So then why is he making a woman's suit? It's a very different kind of reason, right? So No, I don't think Ed Gein should be thought of as inspiring anyone beyond a bunch of authors and screenwriters who didn't really understand serial killers. The reality is that he was an odd one because he was motivated by schizophrenia. I mean, he was in that 0.06% of serial killers that are psychotic, and so that's very rare. So I think there's my answer. I mean, you're never going to get a short answer from me. I'm sorry, but
Love it.
that's the gist. Now, what else would you like to ask? I mean, I don't think we've ever heard from you before, right? Are you a new viewer, or is this the first time you've called?
Yeah, I'm actually a new caller. I wouldn't say new viewer, and I feel like I interact with you guys.
Good.
Intellectually, I'm just stimulated by these conversations, and like you said, you're interested in everything that isn't, let's say, the norm, right?
Absolutely.
Norm, yeah, and I really identify with that. Which I do have another question about you specifically.
Oh boy.
Yes.
The fact that there's something about the sentence like that to say, like, I'm interested in anything that's weird and I have a question for you. It's sort of like a very funny build-up. I'm not really sure how to feel about that, but I mean, touche. I mean, what do you want me to say? But okay, go ahead. I mean, if you want, come into the Wonka factory of my brain. I'll be more than happy to.
I feel comforted knowing that there's someone out there that wants to know about things that are just maybe a little more challenging
I see. Okay.
to grasp. Yeah. So my question is, was there like a catalytic event or something that happened that made you realize, okay, my brain is made for this. I have these skills. My intelligence was designed to do something great for the world by tackling this issue. Was there something
other than being put away in a golden twilight home? No, I'm always, no, seriously. I mean,
I mean, did you hear the beginning of the show when he said that there should be an obituary section in the school newspaper, or
oh my God.
IRS agent? I mean, were there any clue? Did you gather any clues from that stuff? Because as soon as I heard, look, and I've known Gary for a while now, but every time he kind of says stuff, I go, okay, well, this just makes more and more sense, and that there's something for everybody.
A baseball ball. No, but okay. So it's a very interesting question, and I don't really like to answer questions like this, but I will.
Oh.
I'm going to keep it brief, okay?
Okay.
I personally don't find anything about my own life particularly interesting.
Really?
No, I really don't. I honest to God don't. I can't even understand why anybody would care about the answer to this question, but I'm going to answer it in brief. The idea is, I have always felt that the intuitive, kind of empathic nature that is necessary to do this work was really more of something that was thrust on me than something that I wanted. I do what I do because I feel that there's nothing else I can do, in the sense that it's my calling. It's what I have, right? And so what the idea is, I was always drawn to professions in which a person would excel if they had an ability to read other people a little differently, to predict things about people in a kind of Sherlockian way, but also kind of feel them, like walk into a room and go like, that person's hiding something. That person is sad behind their extroverted, guise. That person over there, has been through hell, and be right about it, right? To kind of feel it. And I think that it requires soaking in a great deal of affect from other people that is burdensome. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw that it helped people, I started to get involved in all kinds of things, from volunteering with people who might be called criminally insane, to studying for the priesthood, to teaching, to professorship, to writing, to being a doctor of psychology and working with prisoners. And so the idea is, each of these is a variation on a theme, right, of being a person. And I think the idea is that at some point, for all of us, we have to embrace whatever our neurosis is. and kind of come to the realization that it's a calling that you could use to help people and not resent it as much as love that that's what you have to give people. And to do that is hard. But every one of us, I think, in life has to do that. And the other thing, of course, is, and I hear it a little bit in the way you phrase the question, is that people who are of that type, there aren't a lot of them. And when they find other people that are similar, they get excited. It's like they feel like they're in China and they hear somebody speaking English and they get excited that someone speaks the same language, whatever. So there is that. And but I think it has to do with the idea that it was a buildup of always being drawn to anything that was sort of underappreciated in the world. I don't like when people don't appreciate how rare something is, how beautiful something is, how interesting something is, a factoid, an antique object, the history of a place, and sometimes, because there can be a lonesomeness to being that type of person, is that you grope for people that will understand, and most of the time they really don't. So, like, simple example, I was in the park here in Manhattan a couple of days ago, and there's a statue of Seward, the guy that purchased Alaska, Seward's Folly, whatever, and who, of course, was affected by the assassination attempt, the assassination of Lincoln, and the assassination attempt of members of the cabinet, and so forth. Well, I happen to know that the statue was originally a statue of Lincoln, but they took his head off and put Seward on, so the body doesn't match the head. And so I turned to somebody and I said, this used to be a statue of Lincoln, and that's why the legs and the arms and the torso are disproportionate to the head. And the person said, "Who cares?" Like that, who cares? And then after they walked away, in the same breath, I stopped another person and I pointed out that it was weird that the plants that were growing around the statue are not supposed to be blooming in October. They're spring plants, and it says something about that there's something going on with the environment that's very strange, that these were spring plants. I mean, it made no sense. And I felt kind of like a Cassandra figure in a sci-fi movie, going like, we're all, something's happening and nobody cared, right? They were like, yeah, okay, right. So that was weird. And, and so what starts to happen is that you start to get that kind of Emily Dickinson thing where you're going like, I'm nobody. Who are you? Are you nobody too? Right. And what you find is that those intuitive empathic types, they're really very unusual. And that's why Jung used to say they're like 2% of the population, 3% of the population. And when you have that, it's like a burden, but you use it. You use it to help people, and then you don't mind it anymore. It's hard because you have to be on all day long in that. It's very draining. It's not for everyone. It could be very activating for people who don't have it together, right? It can be very hard. But if you can compartmentalize, you could do a lot of good, because you'll be willing to go into the shadow, as Jung would say, to go into the shadow and kind of bring out the stuff that is necessary to really see life accurately. It's not for everyone, right? I mean, Michael Stone and I once gave a talk where we presented the scale top to bottom. There are people in this audience who would love to be there, believe me, because it was really no holds barred. And it was like a paid dinner. They were like eating their meal, their quiche, and are listening to us talk about torture murderers, And when it was over, some woman, who I'll never forget her because she still had part of the food in her mouth when she said it, she said to us something along the lines of, "Why did I come to this? You hear these horrible stories about whatever." I'll never forget it. And Michael looked her dead in the eye and he said, "The name of the talk is A Scale of Evil. Did you think you were visiting the ice cream man? We're here to talk about evil. Thank you." And that was the end of it. And then people would get up and walk out, but I think the point is, if you want the truth, you have to go into dark places. And that's why the book I'm writing, I'm calling A Traveler in the Darkness. Because you're not of the darkness, but you have to go into it to get the truth. So and that's what I have to do with people. That's why, my patients, they never leave me. I get them and they're with me like years and years and years and years, because it's hard, even in therapy, it's hard to find a treater who is comfortable in a non-judgmental way to let you just go anywhere, like deep, deep, deep into the darkest recesses of who you are. And so imagine spending all day talking to 8 or 9 people about the darkest recesses of their mind. It's a lot.
And then him and I talk too, and then I tell him all the shit stuff that I'm thinking about.
Well, Josh is like, that's nothing compared to this. I mean, Josh is like a normal man, but I'm just saying, like, so I think what you're picking up on, and I really appreciate it a lot, is the notion that it seems like a person would need an impetus to kind of go down a path like that. And I think it has to do with personality. I think it's a tendency to care very, very much about other people. I really do. Honest to God, I do. The people that I take care of, they really know that like every little thing they tell me matters a great deal to them. There's nothing phony about it. If it's phony, people will pick it up. That it cannot be fake. So you have to have that. You have to be intuitive so that you pick the stuff up that people don't want to tell you. You have to be willing to go into the embarrassing and the dark, and you have to make people understand that most of the things they do make sense if you understand a certain premise. Instead of telling them that they're like nuts.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that makes sense from a certain point of view. See, like if I could talk to Ed Gein in the asylum,
Oh, wow.
I would have said to him, I think what you did, even though it was, there were moral issues with it, and it was a reflection of, in many ways, of insanity, and it was criminal. I think the point is you really miss your mother.
Period.
See, and I think that would have mattered to him, because then somebody else could become like the person that he leaned on. You see, so now, so that's all I'm saying, and I really, really appreciate the call more than you know, because it takes a certain kind of point of view to understand things from a certain point of view. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate it. There's a little bit, it takes one to know one, I think, in the tone of the call. So I appreciate that a lot. And what do you do for a living?
Well, I'm actually an insurance broker right now, but I was in school for experimental psychology.
That sounds a little more like it.
Yeah. I mean, I find it fascinating, and I just, I guess, went from taking this in. Thank you so much. It's just absolutely beautiful. I'm gonna just really.
You're gonna repeat it word to word to Mom?
No, I'm gonna make Mom
Please
watch.
tell me Mom is not down in the fruit cellar like.
No.
Okay, good. No, but in all seriousness, listen. This is what I just say this to you.
Mm-hmm.
I do not want to know because it's private.
Mm-hmm.
The psychology of why a person who is inclined to be a psychologist winds up in insurance. But remember that in the process of forgiving one's intuitiveness and empathy, and not resenting it, and not needing to put walls up to prevent getting gobbled up in it, and realizing that one's true calling might be to help others, consider the possibility that if you are blessed with that ability, there are a lot of people whose lives would be better off because you're willing to go there. And insurance is a lovely thing, okay, but you don't need an intuitive empath to sell insurance. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Wow.
So give that a little bit of thought. In the meantime, it was a pleasure to talk to you.
Like,
Okay, nothing wrong with insurance?
no.
Nothing wrong with it at all. Nothing. It's
Hey.
just that it takes a different personality.
Right. Well, thank you so much.
But she's a broker. That's a good point.
Well, to the torchbearer and to his friend, thank you for sharing the empathy that you do, Sharon. I just
say hi to Mom.
Appreciate you. Will do.
Hi, Mom. Thanks, Alyssa. Appreciate it.
Of course.
That was such an interesting call, Joshua, even though I had to talk about myself, which I hate.
Why do you hate talking about yourself?
Because I think it feels a little selfish.
Well, when people, it's only if,
I will only do it if I believe it helps a person.
Well, I mean, and if somebody's genuinely curious and asks you a question, I could ask questions about myself all the time.
You like to talk about yourself?
No.
There you go.
Actually, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Depends.
I feel like Vanessa, what's her name? That actress in that movie Coming to America. where he says, "What kind of food do you like? Whatever you like." Remember?
Yeah, pretty well. Yeah, exactly.
What's your favorite movie? Whatever
Yeah.
you like. Like it's like I don't want to have to, but anyway.
All right, so we got another call here. Carrie, where are you calling from?
Please say the prom.
I'm calling from Connecticut.
Close enough.
I was thinking of the movie and the book. Yeah. Where in Connecticut, Carrie?
I am from Gales Ferry, which is closer to Mystic.
Oh, okay. I love that city.
Yeah, it's nice. I wanted to call because I wanted to thank you guys. I've been listening to you guys for a long time. You guys, both of you interest me, and I had to call after the last caller. And Gary, especially after you said Carl Jung in the school, he's
one of my favorite. Yeah.
Especially the empath. The lonely road of the intuitive empath. I have my own business. I think both of you as spiritual doulas in your own way. It can be a very lonely road. I appreciate of what you do. I went through nursing, and then I do my alternative healing business, and I use my intuitiveness to tap into people's pain, and it could be a gift, and I also could feel the pain, and I could see what both of you guys do, and I just wanted to say I thank you. And as the other past caller just spoke of Carl Jung, and you talked about Carl Jung, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to call, just the synchronistic thing of it all. And I was just listening to Carl Jung today, and a couple weeks ago you said about Fiddler on the Roof, and it was my absolute favorite movie. My parents introduced us to it, and the symbolic language of it, and just everything. We're Broadway kids, and I just love it. And you got to look at life through everything. And just even when you just said about going to the park, and I would be the one sitting there saying the same thing about, did you know that Lincoln did that, and didn't say something, do the same thing to me. I love it.
Beautiful. I think that's very beautiful, and I like that we're getting this little collection of people who have that internal experience together. I think it's very important to read Jung. I don't think people read enough Jung. I think the time we're living in needs him very badly. One of the things, and I know this is going to sound really weird, but one of the things that I like to ask people is a question that Jung used to. I know, don't laugh, Josh. I've learned to figure out why Josh is chuckling.
Oh, I was going to say, when's that ever stopped you from saying anything?
I mean, what Josh doesn't know is they're coming to take him away in a few minutes. but anyway, so Josh, when they come,
I'll go. I got no problem.
Be nice. But the idea is, one of the things Jung used to ask people that I like to ask people is, and forgive, like I said, it's a little corny, but it's very important, is that he would say, what fairy tale or myth are you living with your life? You should think about that. Do you have a life that turns you into a kind of a Sleeping Beauty? Are you a Rapunzel figure? Are you a Cinderella figure? Are you, etc. And most people who are in these kinds of professions are what might be called the wounded healer.
Yes.
Do you understand? Right. A kind of wounded healer. Yep. And you want to think about, what myth are you playing out? It's very important. And the idea is to understand that you are kind of like an unfolding orchid or something, right? Yeah. That ultimately, with the process of individuation, you will become what you are, right? Yes. And what will happen is, empathic people often resent the feeling that what they are was thrust on them, but it's really that they're coming to realize that that is their nature, and they have to unfold it in the way that Now, the good thing is that individuation, the process of becoming what you really are, is something that's just going to happen, sort of the way like a splinter just has to work its way out one way or another. And you'll see that empathic people, when they get pissed off enough, they don't yell at you or anything. They just shut down. They pull away.
Right.
They go into themselves.
Yes.
And then they stop holding the mirror up to the people who use them. And those people then look at themselves and go, "Oh my God, the problem is me." Right. And they hate it. They absolutely hate it, because there's nothing in this world that hurts a person who has known an empathic individual more than to have empathic individuals stop connecting with them.
I just did this
they
week.
cannot handle it, because they did not realize how they were using you like a vampire uses blood.
I just did it to my sister this week. Yes, I know that. I know.
Yes. But you also have to forgive people, because you have to understand that people have their own reasons for doing what they do.
Yes.
And if you can't forgive people, who can?
Yes, I understand.
Right. So that's it. But it's a very, very interesting thing, and I think
empathic people pull away.
They don't get mad at you. They just stop giving. In other words, they just like passive aggressively slip off into themselves, and then you're left holding the bag of, so like, for example, let's say there's a romantic relationship between a person who's got some attachment problems and they're kind of dodgy and weird or whatever, and they're getting a lot of attention from an empathic person who just keeps giving and finding everything about them fascinating and paying attention to them or whatever. And they have no respect whatsoever for the empathic person, because they think that they're too easy. Like, you like me that much, you're pathetic, like whatever. And then what happens is the empathic person keeps taking them back and forgiving them, giving them a chance and letting them cheat on them and abuse them and everything else. And then what happens is one day they just go, "You know what? I'm not answering you anymore. I'm gone, out." And when that switches off like a faucet and you hit that burnout, like Girl Friday is putting it, the other person suddenly realizes that the whole relationship was that they didn't even know you. You were just a mirror. And they were looking in the mirror and you were reflecting them the way they wanted to be reflected. And then you suddenly realize they didn't know me at all. I was in a relationship with a person who didn't even know I was alive. And then what happens is the mirror goes down and they have to look inward, and they hate it. They realize that it's themselves that they had no respect for. See, the only reason they abused you was because you didn't even exist. You were just a projection. And that's the loneliness of the personality, is because your life is a long string of people that don't really care about you. They care about your function. And so you that's what I'm saying. Like, so it's not for everyone to be that. But there are a lot of people in the audience, I think, who identify with this.
I agree.
And I think it sounds like you do.
Yes.
And so tell me a little bit about how, in a good way, you've used this. Like, what are you doing in the world that helps people?
I have a 25-year-old business that I do healing. I was a nurse before, and then I have clients that I studied Reiki, I studied a lot of different healing, and I could just pick up with it. Just like when you say you could see their pain, you could walk in the room. They'll tell me, "Oh, this about the mother." I'm like, "No, it's not that. It's just, like, I could just get to the root cause." I said, I could just, especially because I know the chakra systems. I'm like, "No, it's not that. It's your rage is really this." And then we just talk about that. I'll just bring up that. And say,
but sometimes the other thing that happens is that somebody does see you. And you don't believe it, or you miss that they do. See that now. Let me give you an example of an experience that's very common among empathic people. So two empathic people, one empathic person knows a non-empathic person. Okay. Now they have to give each other a gift for like a holiday or something, right? Okay. So the empathic person gives a gift to the other person that like totally shows understanding them. They understand their personality, their feelings, their dreams, their hopes, whatever. And then the person gives you something that is so generic and so utterly unspecial that it really makes the other person go, oh my God, you don't know me at all.
Is it right?
Right? Like when Holden Caulfield says that his mother gives him presents and they always make him sad because she doesn't know him at all.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a common phenomenon. And I've talked to many patients who have that experience frequently.
Yes.
And because there's nothing more symbolic of this give and take than a gift.
Right.
See, I've had people give me gifts that I have cherished my entire life, and I don't tell them.
Right.
Little tiny things. I mean, I remember one time many years ago, I went out on a date, and I was walking with this woman, and she noticed that attached to my shoe was a little like piece of a leaf. Okay.
Mm.
And we peeled it off, and we noticed that the leaf was exactly in the shape of two hearts that were like touching each other because it had been folded and ripped it. And then when it unfolded, it looked like two little hearts. I came home and put it inside a book. I still have it. I found it the other day. I must have it for 20 years.
I love it.
And I think it's because it meant more than, all the cheesy gifts that people give. And and that's one of the telltale signs of empathic people. So but I mention it because I just
Are you sure it wasn't a piece of toilet paper?
What, Josh?
It wasn't a piece of toilet paper?
No. But if a piece of toilet paper is given to you by the right person, it might mean something.
Absolutely. I mean, if you never know.
What do you have of your mother?
Me?
Yeah.
Very
anything of her?
Yeah, I mean, I have some letters that she wrote to my father. I have some photos, but not many. And all this was sort of before the digital age kind of happened. I don't have her voice like anywhere. That's
you have it here.
Yeah, but it's become distorted over time.
I found a tape of my father, and it was very creepy because I always had in my head my father's voice, but it wasn't the same on the tape. It had gotten changed in psychology somehow. But it's funny because what I'm trying to tell you is that a gift that somebody makes or something they hand you can have so much more significance than something that you go to the store and buy. And people don't understand that. I mean, I have a whole collection of things that people gave me out of their heart, and they mean the world to me, but I usually don't tell them.
Yeah. No, I mean, I have a photo. I'll have to share it sometime, but it's kind of my, I guess you could call it my cherished photo, but it's me sitting on her knee when I was 2. And it's she's got me all dressed up in like overalls, and she was very we didn't get dirty. Like when we would get dirty, I mean, it was instant face scrubbing and changing clothes, and so we were always pretty prim and proper. That was kind of how she did it. But it's a very nice photo, and it's something that I cherish. And I had it digitally put onto a safe keeping little USB that I have just in case. I don't know.
That's funny. That's your prized possession.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
A person's prized possession tells you a very great deal about their psychology. It's like the one thing you would save in a fire.
Well, that's sort of the thing. I've actually thought of that. Right. So that's why I put it on a USB and left it. I left it with my sister, just in case there was a fire or something like that.
There's a Sherlock Holmes story called "A Scandal in Bohemia." It's famous for the Irena Adler character. That people like to speculate Sherlock was in love with, whatever. And the idea of it is that there's a photograph that Irena Adler took with a king. And it's very dangerous to the king's reputation because he's not going to marry this woman. He's going to marry another woman. And Sherlock's commission is to get this photo. And he knows that she's never in a million years going to show him the photo. So he cooks up this idea that he's going to pose as a priest that gets knocked over the head outside of the woman's house. she, being a compassionate person, is going to take him in, give him smelling salts, and take care of him. And then he stages somebody throwing a plumber's rocket on fire into the window, so that the smoke starts coming up. And she, in the fire, he reasons that the first thing she's going to grope for is the hidden photo, because it's her prized possession. And that's how he gets her to show where it is. Is that in the fire, she goes running for the secret compartment and that's how he knows the hiding place. Of course, she outsmarts him. When he goes the next day to pick it up, there's a different photo in there. But that's the famous woman who outsmarts Sherlock. But you see, it is interesting to think about the psychology of the object that is your most cherished. And I think in life, when you meet a person and you have a few conversations with them, and they start getting close to you and opening up, and somewhere in that conversation, you go and you take your most prized possession and you show it to them, and you really, really believe that they care about it, hang on to that person forever.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get like 3 or 4 of those in your whole life.
I agree.
Most people, you go to a bar, you pick them up, you take them home. They don't care about your prized possession.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because they're not kissing or laying down with or marrying or dating or whatever you. See? So when you find yourself going like, here's my secret folder of poems that I write. Here's my secret folder of photos from when I was a child. Here's my, secret box of, things I've never shown to anybody, whatever. When you find yourself doing that, understand that is a rare moment where somebody is saying, you're reflecting me, but I'm interested in reflecting you. And I want to know who's on the other side, like who this person is. And those people are the people who are going to make you feel like a valid human being. And there are not many of those. That's why if you are a person who makes other people feel validated, it's such a gift, because you don't realize, like in the course of my work, I don't realize how many people tell me, oh, today I went to the park and I ate a sandwich, and I say to them, that's really beautiful. It's interesting. That's great. And I really mean it. And I don't realize how much it means to them that somebody cares about that.
Right.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, imagine getting it back.
Yeah, but when I said that about the hot dog machine, you didn't care about that.
Because I knew that you weren't talking about it through loneliness. You were talking about it to be funny. If you said to me,
I wasn't talking about it to be funny.
okay, you really want to talk about going and eating a hot dog? It's a big deal to you? Then we'll talk about it.
No.
It's ridiculous, but we'll talk about it. but I'm just trying to make the point that if you have one of those in your life, even one, who, even if they drive you crazy and they feel like they have no boundaries and you roll your eyes at them, whatever, and they're the person who keeps saying to you, thank you, Zoe, for saying it was beautiful. That made his day. But to have a person who says to you, text me when you get home. I know I'm annoying, but I just want to know you're home. Or the person who keeps calling you up and going, listen, I don't want to bother you, but put a heavy coat on. It's cold out. All right, okay, I'm not stupid. You hang up the phone. They call you back. Seriously, is your coat big enough?
Yeah.
It's cold out. When you find that, cling to it. Cling to it, because it's so rare. Josh, do you have anybody like that in your life who cares about you like that?
Yeah, I would think so, but I'm
You're lucky.
I'm weird in that sense that like I'm uncomfortable a lot of the times with that kind of stuff. I don't know why.
Macho does.
Oh yeah, you know what? To be honest with you, Macho probably loves me more than anything that he's ever seen in his life. I mean,
you better live to be 250, or we're really gonna be taking you away in the white coat.
The way that he looks at me is kind of, it's very cute, But yeah, he does. But I don't know. I mean, I somehow in my own mind downplay when I feel like, if somebody tells me like you're amazing or you're funny or you're this or you're that, and I don't know, I'm never quite comfortable
I noticed
with that. I don't know why. I just think I'm just not. I don't know, because sometimes I guess I just don't believe that about myself. And that's just how it is.
Did your mother feel that way about you?
I don't know. I don't know. I would assume so.
I would assume so too. See, the problem is, and there are a lot of people in the audience who will identify with this, is that if you've loved and you've been loved and then you lose the person, then it's really blocking people out, because the pain of losing a person is so much harder than, than believing that nobody feels that way. It's painful to be lonely, but the only thing worse is to have once not been lonely and then have lost. Like the old line of poetry, it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Yeah, okay. Try it, and you won't agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
BS. BS. It is not better to have loved and lost than to have never loved. That is absolute nonsense. It hurts like hell. And so I think sometimes, you get in life, I told you, I've said it before, when you meet a person, it's one of the first things I teach people when they're doing therapy and assessing people. I say, when you meet a person, in the back of your head, there's a whole checklist of things that I go through, right, when I'm learning. And one of the things I want to know is, was this person never loved? Are they loved? Or did they once feel love and lose it? Everyone's in one of those three buckets. See? And if you know which one a person's in, you start to understand a lot better their attachments and the way they relate to people. Sometimes people don't let you in. It's because they tried it once and it hurt like hell. Now, the answer is that in the long run, I suppose it is worth it, because the pain of loss is the cost of the happiness. But I think that, yeah, it's difficult. Have you ever lost a great love, caller?
Yeah.
Tell us about them.
My ex-husband,
Mm-hmm.
and it went down really bad.
I understand. Well, we're here if you ever want to talk about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I've lost people that I loved, that were, even like friends that I've lost, that I loved.
Well,
What's
you
that?
mean that passed away, or you mean that they just stopped talking?
Yeah, and I've all, yes, of course, and then which is a little easier to deal with than when somebody just completely shuts themselves off to you.
I think that's more painful.
When somebody just shuts themselves off. Oh, absolutely. Of course it is. And it's
like
and it's confusing, and yeah, it feels like they might as well have died, because
that's right.
They don't exist in your universe anymore for whatever reason. And why? I don't know, but I've lost people from, like I had a really good friend that was a fisherman that died, and I loved him very much. Yeah, he fell off a boat and he died. And
how old was he?
He was 47.
My age.
Yeah, he wasn't old at all. Yeah. And
tell me a little bit more about him, Josh. I never heard about him before. What was his name?
His name was Dave Morgan, and he was I actually met him. He was older than I was. I met him. He was a little league coach. His kids played little league with me, and then we all grew up together, and I became good friends with him. And I was friends with the family, but specifically him and I, because we played music together. Like he played the drums, I played the drums, he played the guitar. Actually, I didn't play the guitar, but matter of fact,
how symbolic that you played in a band together.
This is his poster from when he passed away.
Oh, look at him!
Oh,
yeah,
beautiful.
I have it.
He looks like a fisherman in that outfit.
He is. all the way through. And
That's like throw a lobster pot over the side of the.
yeah, and when he died in 2009, and it was horrific, just the sudden, somebody that you talk to all the time and spend a lot of time with, to lose a person like that suddenly. And that's not the first person, obviously, nor probably will it be the last person.
Why do we use the word lost?
Because that's what it feels like.
Not lost. They just moved, changed. Why do we say lost? Lost makes it sound like you're looking for your tennis ball at midnight, in the backyard. Lost. You know where he is.
Mm.
Why do you say lost?
Well, he was technically lost at sea.
Oh, okay, that's different. Literally, let's see.
But a year later, he was found in a dragnet, and we were able to bury him, which was nice too. The whole thing. But yeah, he was a great friend and somebody, but I know why he's not here. Why I don't talk to him. I know why that. I don't know why sometimes when people just distance themselves from you unexpectedly, with no rhyme or reason.
This is a very important story, Josh, and I think it's beautiful that you're sharing it with everybody, because it came out. You told this story in the context of my discussing with people as a little kind of miniature of what a lot of people out there are feeling, right? Is that some people, because they've had loss, close themselves off to new connections. And the thing is, it's one thing to have one loss, but to have multiples that are tragic. I mean, a person, it's like, if you keep touching the stove and getting burned, I mean, at some point you're just not going to do it anymore. And I think that's what a lot of people do. If you've lost enough people, you just say, the hell with this.
Well, that's how I feel. That's how I feel all the time. And it is hard for me to let people, specifically new people, in any way. It's very difficult for me because I would just rather not deal with it if it goes, if I start to feel a certain way about, and that's friends, relationships, whatever. I've always, the most solid relationships that I have ever formed in my life are with my children
and your dogs
and my dogs. Right. And because I mean, it's just biological. It's just nature, I mean, but to cultivate and it's just a very tough thing to do, man. It really is for a lot of people. And
but you're once you let a person in, you're a very easy person to be friends with. I mean, I think that's why one of the things I find interesting about you is that I'm fascinated by how many people actually fall for the persona that you play. The persona that you play of a person with a kind of attitude of, I couldn't give a flying leap if anybody likes me or cares about me or says anything bad of me, whatever. It's silly, because underneath it, anybody who knows you for 5 minutes knows that actually you're very sensitive to attachment, and you are very loyal, and you have a kind of a quality of really loving people who love you, and you'll give your shirt off your back for them and whatever. And my sense is that, that makes you kind of a misread character. But I think that it takes a certain person to kind of see past it, and there are a lot of people like that who have a kind of castle around them. But you have to remember, like, there has to be something pretty valuable inside of a castle to require that much protection.
Well, I mean, I got to tell you too, though, is that when I care about people's opinions that, like, I value, like the people in my life that I value. But I mean, if it's just somebody on the internet talking, I truly don't.
Well, it creates a distance that makes it safe. I mean, that's the whole thing. But I was fascinated by when I saw people at CrimeCon when I was a guest there who have said awful things about me on the internet. And when they saw me in person, they treated me like royalty. And I wanted to say to them, what happened to all those comments that you made?
Yeah.
When you're a keyboard warrior, what's the matter? Now you're in person. You you don't have those thoughts anymore.
I've had people say awful things about me, on the internet before, and then when either we come across each other in real life, or they have sort of a change of heart, or they say, look, I misread you, or I didn't know your personality, or whatever. And I forgive those people. I hold nothing.
But that's the secret of why some people put a persona up. Because then if you get rejected, the person didn't really reject you. They just reject the character you were playing. See, the idea is that to actually let a person in and then be rejected hurts like hell. That's what hurts. It doesn't hurt when a person thinks they knew you and then they got disappointed that you weren't what they expected. Who cares? So, but that is the first time in my life Romina said I'm gangsta. Can you imagine me being described that way? Now, hold on, I'm going to get my chains. Hold on here. Look, I'm going to put my do-rag. I mean, Josh, can you picture somebody calling me gangsta? Maybe like
no, but I can.
In like a mafioso kind of caricature on a movie or something. I could kind of look a little like that.
No, but I would love to see you wear do-rag.
I can picture myself speaking, saying like, you don't even invite me to the wedding and give me a cup of coffee. I could see that. But I can't see the gangsta. I mean,
I would call me Godfather.
Yeah, I'd look like Kip and Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, you would. Don't worry. I've been chatting with babes online all day. Whatever, Napoleon.
I love that movie. Don't get me started on that movie.
Your mom goes to college.
La Fonda is the best thing.
La Fonda, yeah. That's so funny, man.
You forgot the crystals.
In that movie, remember Rex Kwon Do?
Of course.
I kept watching the part. I probably watched that part. I've probably seen it 20 times when he's wearing the who wants to take a roundhouse kick to the face while I'm wearing these bad boys? He's all forget about it.
Forget about it. And Uncle Rico with the throwing that he could throw it over the mountains.
Oh, yeah, and he's like terrible at it. And hits Napoleon in the head with a stake or something. Or probably the best part of that movie though is when the guy's getting ready to kill the cow and the bus of kids drive by and they witness the cow get shot and they're like, ah.
I think the funniest part of the movie is when he calls up the woman that he's supposed to take to the prom, and he tells her he drew a picture of her, but it took a really long time to draw it because he had to get the hair right on her upper lip. For some reason, that just gets me every time. That and Uncle Rico selling the Tupperware.
Yeah, that's like
and the couple is and she's like, I want it.
That's a cult classic right there. I'll tell you.
I've seen it at least 25 times.
Oh, it's hilarious every time. Too.
And Pedro with the oh my god, I can't handle it.
Yeah, you got to vote for him, dude.
I would. So anyway, listen, I love these call-in shows because you never know what's going to come out of the kind of free association around the call. But, a theme emerges after a little while with the calls, and then it sort of shapes the questions people ask and all that. I don't know what made us go down the path tonight of talking about the inner experience of empathic people and how they overlap with true crime and how, in these professions, helping professions, and all that. But I think it takes a bravery to kind of be naked like that and kind of talk to the world, whoever's watching, that is to say, about this stuff. So I think I really appreciate it. So did we address whatever it is you wanted to call about, or did we go off on a tangent and not
calling in?
I want to call and say thank you guys very much. Yeah, you addressed.
Well, you're a lovely person, and I really appreciate it. And think of us in the future, and we'll be happy to have you back. Okay? And we don't say that to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
We don't say it to everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
All right. Let's go ahead and we'll take a couple more calls here. Let's see. Rosa, you're on the air. Where are you calling from?
Los Angeles,
California. How are you?
Okay, I was actually in the kitchen making my husband's dinner, and listening to what Gary was saying about how difficult it's like hell to get over somebody once you've loved them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, yes.
And that really caught my attention because it hasn't happened yet, but it's something
You worry
I,
about?
I internally am dealing with because my husband, he's only 67 and has Alzheimer's.
Uh,
Oh,
And this is a guy I met
yeah.
only 11 years ago. I was married when I was really young, and I can really say this was my soulmate from the minute we met. An incredible musician, and he was diagnosed 4 years ago, and the speed that he's been declining at, it scares me. So you're right; it's going to hurt like hell because it what he does.
well, let me first start by saying that I'm sorry that it's such a degenerative, awful disease.
It is.
And it is, you know, my grandfather, who I helped my grandmother with, he had Alzheimer's and dementia. Um, and it was, some days were good, some days were horrible, some days were just kind of in between. But the bad days were really bad. I don't know, do you guys, is that sort of your experience right now, that some days are good and then some days are really bad?
No, it's he's like um like 2 years ago, Josh could still play his guitar. He could write. He's lost all of that ability.
Yeah.
What he can still do is walk. I'm his full-time caregiver, so I'm at home with him.
Right.
He goes to adult daycare. I involve him in a lot of activities to keep him going. Um, it's just he's what they call severely impaired, so he requires 24/7 supervision. An incredible guy, sociable guy, so outgoing, and he was just recently in the hospital for COVID. And when you come out from that, it was a whole nother issue of trying to remember how to do things, basic, care things. And
And you feel a sense of impending doom, basically.
yes, I go to support groups and I attend different things, but at the end of the day, there's no solution here. And my, attitude in life is I always approach things like, okay, how are we going to resolve this? Or what's the way out? Or um, let's just, we'll figure this out, brainstorm and find the best solution. But there is no solution.
There is
So
not.
most of the days I do okay. I keep it inside, internalize as much as I can. But when I just heard you say that on the show, it just really struck a nerve with me.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely correct. I was married, had a lot of different relationships. This is the first time I could say that I've truly been in love. And this was a guy he is bigger than life, swept me off my feet. He was doing so good booking gigs for his guitar, and just such a talent. And I'm doing everything I can to promote his music. It was one thing I'd always noticed about him. Like, why are you not on YouTube? Why are you not on, SoundHound and all these different things? Even on Apple Music. And even before I met him, there were struggles, with those kind of things.
Is he? You said he's your husband?
He's my husband. Yeah, we got married right before he got diagnosed, a few months before. Um, and first we thought it was dyslexia. Um, but from he was driving in the early of 21. Now it's, he needs care with every aspect of life. Um, he, you know, he holds on to his birthday, his name. I go through our daily thing of the months and the dates. And his neurologist says, Rosa, you're very laudable. And I didn't know what that meant, so I looked it up. with all the activities you do for him. He's just such a tremendous guy, you know, and how he's every day was like he had this I've never seen anyone's eyes twinkle the way his did. Like every day was a new adventure in life. And from my, I guess, very negative upbringing and so forth, it was such a joy to be around him every day and to look forward to life with him. And you know, I'm grateful for the time I'm grateful to whatever time I have with him. And people are like always asking me, don't you want to put him somewhere? How can you take it? Don't you want to, you know,
Yeah.
people are very like respite care, you know, never if I can help it. I want every minute, every day with him. Because I'm very much in touch with what it will be like without him. I'd rather have him like this for the next 10 years.
You mean because he was the first person in your life that you felt loved you?
No, I think, I don't, I would say I will say he's the first person that loved me, as much as he does.
I see. But
It's like we just connected from the beginning.
I
He,
understand. So it's a unique love. Well, love is what's making it possible for you to do everything you're doing for him. And the truth of the matter is that in many ways, despite what looks to the world like a terrible, terrible fate, the reality is that when it comes to having found someone who loves him as much as you do, he's lucky. The reality is that um, you're taking very literally the line from the Book of Common Prayer that has worked its way into the marriage vows in a standard way, where we say, in sickness and in health, right? Now, whenever I hear that in a marriage vow, I get a little choked because I immediately think of my parents, where my mother took very good care of my father as he deteriorated from cancer. And I mean took care of, like, the kind of marriage where somebody takes a bus, rain, sleet, or snow, you know, back and forth every day, 7 days a week to see someone in the hospital, that kind of thing.
yes,
And I'm sure you would do that. And what I'm trying to tell you is that um, this is your turn to be the one who loves, and it's pure love because you're not going to get anything back. The person is just sort of staring at you, or doesn't seem to maybe know you, or whatever. But that's the whole point, is that it's an act of pure love because you're getting nothing out of it except doing this for a person that you made a commitment to and that you love. And I think that's very beautiful, very, very beautiful. Of course, in my faith, I don't know what your particular faith is. I'm sure that after this period of being in a fragile, deteriorating body, that you'll be together in a kind of glorified way in heaven, where this stuff is over. But here in the world, you're going to suffer. It's going to be very hard. But the reality is that he is the one who's receiving the benefits of being loved, and it's a beautiful thing. And I'll tell you also, loneliness is profound when you feel that you're not getting love. But I have found in life that the greatest grief is not having something to love. When you don't have somebody to take care of every day or listen to every day or whatever, it feels like a waste of your hands and your energy, and you've got to kind of empty yourself loving something in this world. That's what gives your life a meaning. And in that sense, there's a luckiness too. You have some place to focus your love, and he has someone who loves him. And of course, the circumstances are horrendous, but there's a foundation underneath the house that's built on a very real thing, and it's extraordinary to listen to you. I mean, do you know how many people are listening who would kill to have somebody who feels this way about them? Most people
no,
can't even
I,
have a friend who knows how to buy them a birthday present.
you know, I'm not like, before I met Josh, I hadn't been in a relationship for 12 years.
This Josh,
And
this Josh on the screen?
I can't see Josh Balmian.
Oh, I see.
He's
Common
like,
knowledge.
he has a few things on YouTube. I can't, which Josh is that?
I thought you meant the Josh here.
Oh, no, my My husband's name is Josh.
Oh,
Okay. No, my husband's name is Josh. I'm always saying, I'm not afraid of being alone. I'm just afraid of being alone without him.
I know. Because with love, a taste of honey is worse than none at all.
But isn't that the same as it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all?
It's the other side of it. Exactly.
But I mean, it mirrors
it. You've had a taste of it. It's very hard. It's very hard because life takes on a whole different meaning when you have somebody to love and somebody who loves you. I mean, Josh, when you come home from a long day and you're stressed out and a person comes over and puts their hand on your shoulder and says, "Tell me about your day," and actually cares, that is a very different life experience.
Yes.
That is a very different life experience. But I also think having something to love is very important.
Well, look,
you're very good at it, caller.
I think
it's like an art. Mm-hmm.
When you kind of sort of, I guess you get into, the meaning of life and existentialism and,
right.
what, and all of us to some degree, deal with that and think about that and what is the purpose of life. And I have sort of boiled it down to, in my own experiences, that my family, my children, my loved ones are what make life worth living.
Of course, what you love and who loves you,
and that you take care of. My family is very close. I'm very close with all of my family. And probably because of what happened when I was young with my family, and I lost sort of the cornerstones of my family and had to rebuild those things. And I did. I worked at it really, really hard to have a strong connection and love with my children, with my sister's children, and my grandmother. And while my grandfather was here, although he died, when I was 25, so I lost him pretty early. But I have just sort of realized that that's sort of, there are other things in life that are important and that bring you joy and pleasure and things like that. But at the root of it, to me, is family. And it's not just kids. It's not that. It's family. And that doesn't necessarily mean blood related either. I mean, I have,
it could be who you love out in the world.
I find a lot of, I have friends that I would consider family over actual family members. And so what you're doing for your husband is a righteous act, and it is a lovely way to express the love that you have for him, even though at times you don't always see the same person that was in there. That was a big thing with my grandfather when he sometimes he'd be clear as day, and then sometimes it wasn't. And towards the end, when he was really, really sick, and this was at the end, I didn't want him to go because I didn't want to lose him. My dad was locked away, gone, and he was sort of the only role model, or he was basically like my dad. I mean, he raised me, and I didn't want to lose him. I wasn't ready to lose him, but I also know that I did not want him to keep suffering this way, because it was almost unbearable. And to watch somebody that you love have to go through that. And we're talking at the very, very end here,
Right.
And he recognized you in the end.
He did. Yes, he did. And then but sometimes he would forget my grandmother, which was very, very hurtful to her. She didn't understand it, and I would try and explain to her, like, look, I mean, this isn't something that he's doing on purpose. It just happens, and
but to you and to the caller, I would remind you that when you have loved a person who can't give you anything back, partially because they've forgotten, the person that you are to them has been gobbled up in the condition that they're in, and you're giving and giving and giving, and you can't get much back, but you love them because you do, and that's the nature of it. The truth of the matter is that when you do that, you perfectly mimic God. That's God's relationship with most of us. How many of us even know that he's there? And the thing is, when what happens is that the more you mimic God, the more you perfectly love. And one day it'll come back to you because he'll recognize that in himself in you. And that's the entrance, the ticket. That grace is the entrance to the place where all this stuff is over. And I'm trying to tell you, like, you have to try to see this stuff as bound in time. Love is not bound in time. It cannot die. It will be forever. You are
I believe
bound
that.
to him by some kind of unseen cable forever. And you must understand that just because something is in a shell of suffering, it is still the person that held your hand and kissed you and curled up with you in a bed and asked you how your day was and loved you. That spirit of that person cannot go anywhere. There's and they need you right now, you know. And so I think you're a very beautiful soul, and I can understand why he loved you like that, because there's a goodness that's exuded by you as a person listening to you.
Thank you.
And I think he's lucky to have had you.
And I'm also very lucky. He
That's how people
spoiled me.
love each other
He
feel.
spoiled me rotten, and he was just, so ambitious and lively, and
And he
so much
filled it.
laughter. And he was like, "Gosh, he's so much fun." And we're happy. And we both were kind of like outed by our families, and for different reasons. And we also, both of us came from backgrounds with parents from the Holocaust, his more than mine, but still. And
How interesting, yeah.
very, very, very dysfunctional. He was, horribly beaten as a child.
Think what you
And
must mean to him.
my husband was, yes. And I've always wondered, I mean, you've mentioned the neurologist, could this have caused some of this? Because it's unknown.
But
It's
just think about what you must mean to him in that context. That's a very important story that you told, you see. And so, this is all the more reason to praise what you do with him. And I just think you've become a kind of model of generosity and kindness and love that all of us should imitate. And
thank you.
you really need to understand that in a way that he may not be able to express to you, he is utterly and completely in your hands, as this person who loves him, and you're giving him a kind of dignity, and that's very important too. But in the final analysis, this is all that's going to matter. Trust me. And the only thing that can turn the hell of existence into heaven is having somebody there who loves you. That's it. That's the only
Absolutely.
way to introduce a little heaven into the hell of things, is to have somebody there who loves you. You
I
understand?
do understand, and you're right. I'm still lucky that he can still say that to me, and he has his moments, where, I mean, he's very aware. And I really appreciate you saying those things to me.
They're just the
So
truth. But remember also that it is going to be the most loving thing you do eventually, to understand that time can't last forever here, in a state of suffering especially. And sometimes letting something go is the most loving thing, you know?
he just came over here. Can he say hi to you guys?
Of
Of course.
Josh, you want to come say hi? I'm on a show, and we were just talking about you. Come here, sweetie pie.
Okay, here I am.
Here's my Josh. Here's sweetie pie.
How are you?
Hello.
This is Dr. Gary Brucato and Josh. Also, his name is Josh, like you.
Hi, Josh.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. Yeah, you got a wonderful wife there.
I do.
How do you call your wife? What name do you call her?
What's my name?
What name?
What's my name? He calls me Monkey.
Oh, that's
I
I figured he'd have a nickname for you. That's what I was asking.
We call each other Monkey.
Oh,
I see. Well,
beautiful.
can you tell how much she loves you?
Yeah.
He just gave her a kiss on the cheek. That's beautiful. Josh, you have a wonderful wife there. And Rose, I know that you have a wonderful husband, and your guys' love for each other is beautiful. And you know, it's heartwarming to see that. It really is.
Very, very lucky. I do listen to you guys all the time about the true crime as well, because it's kind of my escape sometimes. So
That's awesome. We appreciate you, and call in again.
I will. It was really nice, and thank you both so much. I say bye-bye, Josh.
Okay.
Hey, Josh, take care. Okay, we'll talk soon. All right.
I'm looking forward.
All right. Good deal.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Okay. Good night. Bye-bye.
Wow, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. It was awesome.
Such a
You never know. You never know where we're going, right?
poignant moment. Really, that was very powerful, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, kind of speechless at the moment. You know, it's I know I've never had a spouse but like that was suffering from that, but I've known people, and then my grandmother, it was very hard for her, man. And I know that they just seem so wonderful and lucky to have each other, man. I'm telling you, it is a blessing.
Yeah, I'll tell you though, Josh, you and I and everyone in this audience, we all know people that are forgetting themselves gradually, and they don't have Alzheimer's disease. There's other ways that people deteriorate and forget themselves and forget their worth and don't take care of themselves and lose themselves or become caught up in a persona, or they think that what they are in their heart is not good enough because they haven't found anybody who loves it. Kierkegaard used to say that a person could lose $5 or an arm and he'll notice, but he won't notice when he loses himself.
Yeah.
And sometimes you meet a person who says, not only do I see what you really are, but I love it, and you should be more of it. And I think that's worth waiting a lifetime for. And the callers were people who waited a lifetime to find it, had a little taste of it, and then life decided to kick them in the ass.
Yeah.
But in the final analysis, that's what shows that you love each other, is that in those times you have each other. And what life is teaching you is that love is a thing that is like a little bit of light that's in the middle of all the crap. That's the crap doesn't stop. It's just that you have a little bit of light in the middle of it.
And the thing is that it's very hard to kind of reconcile, but that death and loss is as much a part of life as living. It's just the bookend of it, for our time here, at least, and it's just one of those things where the bulk of your life is, if you're lucky, is, you have a good friend, you find somebody that you love, you fall in love with, and at the end, we all wither away. From dust we came, and to dust we shall return. I mean, there's nothing truer than that.
Well, your body. That's true of your body.
Correct.
Right. But the other piece of it, Josh, is loving you. It takes a lifetime to understand why someone should love you. I mean, do you know how hard it is for the average person to look at themselves and say, I am worthy of somebody to pick me out of all the people in the world. They're going to pick me. And then you think to yourself, I'm getting ill. I'm deteriorating. I'm getting older. I'm losing my appearance. I'm whatever. And this person still chooses me out of all the people in the world. And then you feel guilty about it, and you feel sort of strange, and you don't know why. And when you find a person who really feels that way about you, you just look at them, and it's like a miracle that out of the entire world, they just want to be anchored to you.
I'm acutely aware, and it's a beautiful thing, but it can also be overwhelming. But it's I understand exactly what you're saying, but at the same time, you know, we all have whatever issues from our past that sort of hinder us or propel us or whatever. And if you're one of those people that can use your past to propel yourself, you know, to a better future, I mean, you're winning. You're ahead of the game, because it's not easy to do. And even when you get ahead like that, when you feel like you are using what has happened in your past to benefit your future, even when you do that, there are so many pitfalls in life. There are so many, man. And you can take, you could take a couple steps forward and 3 steps back and 3 steps forward and 1 step back. But you got to have motion. You got to keep going. You have to continue to climb up whatever hill or push that boulder up whatever hill it is, metaphorically, obviously.
And you have to see meaning in it. You can't see the suffering as having no purpose, or it depresses you too much. When Viktor Frankl lost his wife, he said that the only way he got through it was to reason to himself, if I had died before she did, she would be feeling the pain I'm feeling now about me. So I'm happy that I get to feel it for her.
Correct.
See, you have to make a meaning out of it. I'm going to read a little, you know how I love to read my little poems.
I do.
And this is a very old kind of Victorian poem, but I love it. And it's about when you marry a person or you join yourself to a person symbolically, and because you love them, you feel guilty that they're connecting themselves to somebody who may have issues. And you want life to be perfect for them. And the person's answer is simply that they made the choice of loving you, and they're not afraid because they're with you, and you're going to face it together. See? And it goes like this. I love it. It's a little old-fashioned, but it's very, and it says, a man and a maid stood hand in hand, bound by a tiny wedding band. Before them lay the uncertain years that promised joy and maybe tears. Is she afraid? Thought the man of the maid. Darling, she said in a tender voice, tell me, do you regret your choice? We know not where the road may wind, or what strange byways we may find. Are you afraid? Said the man to the maid. She raised her eyes and spoke at last. My dear, she said, the die is cast. The vows have been spoken. The rice has been thrown. Into the future we'll travel alone. With you, said the maid, I'm not afraid. See? And I love that. I think
I do too.
And that's that. If you understand that it's that's what the person signed up for. Otherwise, love is just a stupid word.
Well, it's, I remember, I had kids particularly young in life.
How young?
Like I was 18.
You were a kid yourself.
I was 18 when I had my first child, and 19 when I had my second. Got married at 18. It didn't work out, obviously, but her and I, she's remarried and we have a great relationship. We get along wonderfully. We're friends. We really are, good friends. And it'll always be that way. I know that. But I remember having to tell my grandfather and grandmother that, I had got my girlfriend pregnant. And I was in a great panic. I was distressed. I had no idea what I was going to do. I remember, so I sat down with my grandpa to tell him. And as I told him, and he just kind of sat there, and I looked at him and I said, well, what are you going to like? And she going to say anything? And he goes, well, what do you want me to do? He goes, you want me to kick you while you're down, while you're trying to figure things out? He goes, I don't think that's going to happen. That's not going to help you. And I said, but I don't know what to do. And then he says, I don't know what you mean by that. And I said, I don't know what to do. And he says, you're going to raise your son or your child. That's what you're going to do, because this is the next chapter of your life.
What a smart man.
He was brilliant. I mean, he was, and when he said that, he says, that's what you're going to do. And that's what I did, and it worked. And it was a hard chapter to enter into, but it was so worth it,
So many stories tonight are just like knocking me in the heart. That's such a, my God. I mean, that's such a touching story the way you describe it. Because
and I was, by the way, I was terrified.
Of course, you were scared.
I was scared about having a child at such a young age. I was scared that I had to tell my grandparents about it. I was scared that I had to face other people just in general that I knew. I mean, it was, somebody having a child at 18 is, especially nowadays, is not something that's like, and my kids are older now than I was when I had them. And they don't have.
But Josh, in your family, you really learn the value of life. You have to understand that every once in a while you have an experience. It's a very Buddhist kind of thing where for just a moment you feel the life force. You feel the preciousness of life. You understand? A little insect is crawling in front of you and your desire is to crush it. And you realize that thing has in it the life force. A tree blowing in the breeze, a worm crawling on the person across from you who's homeless, curled up on the bench, the woman who's sitting pregnant, rubbing her belly, the elderly man who's weeks or months away from the end of his life on a cane. And you feel the life pulsing through everything. And you realize its preciousness.
But
it's a beautiful moment to realize that.
But that's because I was introduced to an environment where the price of life was cheap.
That's what I'm saying.
And I did not see it that way. I saw it for what it was, that life is precious and valuable, and that it's vapor. It goes by so fast. And I know that people say, and this is such a stereotypical thing to say, oh, it goes by so fast. I used to hear that all the time growing up. Dr. Gary, I will be 40 years old next month. And when I look back,
boy,
now listen to this. Somebody told me one time, they said, if it took a man as long to get from birth to 21 as 21 to die, a man would live forever.
I love it.
Yeah. And you think about that and you go, you want to grow up, you want to have your own place, you want to do your own thing. And then it's sort of like the Peter Pan thing. Well, once you're there, there's no going back. And it's like the real is just, it just keeps going. It just doesn't stop.
Because you see, the thing is, Josh, there are people who miss the point that the law and religion and rules and so forth, there's no purpose for them to exist if the heart of them is not love and mercy. If something happens where you're scared because you've done something that deviates from what you were taught and what society tells you and whatever, and you go to a person should say to you, if the heart of the law and the heart of all those things we teach you is to not hurt anybody, they should say to you, we love you. That child is going to have nothing in this world except love, just like we give you. And that's it. No one's here to judge you. It's very important because that's the time in your life when you need a person the most. I mean, you were practically a baby yourself.
Of course I was.
And so I'm just saying to you, like, pay it forward in life when your kids make mistakes and one of them comes to you and says, Dad, I did the stupidest thing I ever did in my entire life. I can't believe it. And every fiber of your being wants to judge them and say, I can't believe I didn't raise you this way. You're a fool, whatever. Remember that they're just being human. And your job is to teach that the heart of all of it is not to judge, but to say, I just want you to be happy and for nobody to get hurt. That's all. And we'll make the best of this. The best way to do that is I'm here for you. I love you. I forgive you. Don't worry about it. Nothing to be scared of. Because it made it fine. You made it, and how lucky that your kids
Let me show you.
an age to you because they'll get to be with you for so long. Who are you going to show me? Oh, look at that. They're so cute. Holy crap.
That's young Josh with young kids.
Yeah, you were basically a baby.
And that is a very, very special photo because we were all so young, man. So young. And
when you look at them, don't you feel an incredible pride, like your buttons want to pop off your shirt when you see them be good men and things? And
I'm as proud of them as anything. It has been the honor of my life to raise my children, and still to this day be there for them because they, like I get a call the other day from my youngest son, Ronnie, and he says, "Hey, do you have to put the gas pump, like, do you have to wait to take the gas pump off to pump the gas before you pay?" He's like, "Because I think I can't figure it out. I think what happened is I put it back and I'm just like, no, you have to go in, you pay first and then you pick it up, hit the button and then put the gas in." That was the whole conversation we had. He's like, "Oh, okay." He just got a car. So, he's just learning these things and it's a beautiful thing. Let me read this really quick. I'm catching up, but I wanted to say that I'm no slouch, but I do value you. You're smart, caring, and kind. You try to make a difference, and that matters to me greatly. So don't forget your coat. And hi, Dr. Gary, too. Thank you, Jenny. That's very kind of you.
That was directed at you. I think that's very beautiful.
I think that was very sweet. Let's see. Being a religious academic, Dr. B, and mention of the comic strip earlier, thoughts on the radical nature of the conceptual foundation of Calvinism?
Oh, Lord, that's a theological question. It's complicated because I'm Roman Catholic. I'm not a Calvinist. And that's a question that's more appropriate for somebody who identifies as a Calvinist. But the literalism and all of that, it's very different than my approach to the Christian theology. So I think it's something, to ask someone who identifies as Calvinist. You're not Calvinist, are you, Josh?
No.
But it's a really great question. It's just that it goes a little bit beyond the scope of what we're talking about, but I appreciate the question. We don't have somebody holding online, do we?
We have no, we do have one more person.
Oh, the poor person. I feel sorry for them. I mean,
we'll go ahead and get to that.
Well, at least
and Linda, where are you calling from?
Surprise.
Thank you for your Linda was one of the people who was kind enough to send a little tip for my piano playing, and I really appreciated that. I wish I have to figure out, because when people send them, they come by PayPal and it doesn't give me a way to contact them. Tell them thank you, but I would. I mean, I would if it. So I'm glad I get to say thank you. Now, so you've been enjoying the piano music?
Yes, I've been listening to your piano music and enjoying it very, very much.
What do you think?
It's very soothing. Very soothing. In fact, I'm going to start. I've been busy this past week because my daughter's been visiting for Sacramento, but I'm going to try to start. I have a hard time sleeping, have insomnia, so I'm going to try going to sleep with it, with your piano at night.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, you're very good. You're very good. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what do you think that people prefer the original pieces or when I cover famous songs?
Oh no, I always like a person who's creative and does their own original piece.
Okay, because they're a lot of work.
Oh yeah, sure.
They're a lot of work. People don't realize. And there's.
I wrote a song for my daughter's wedding, her first wedding, and I wrote the lyrics, and I was taking voice lessons, and the teacher actually sang it for me because I don't sing very well. And we played it at her wedding. That's when we had cassette tapes. It's been that long
It's
ago.
hard to believe that you can't sing. You have a very interesting voice. Are you sure you can't sing?
No, well, I try. But anyway,
I find that hard to believe. I'm very good at hearing a voice and knowing what a person would sound like if they sang. And
well,
I'm not
my
really sure that
grandson
you
said
can't
I have a
sing.
good voice, but I don't think I do. But
Right.
I,
That I believe that you don't think
I
you
have a
do.
tendency to put myself down. And it's funny, Dr. Gary, because you were actually describing me perfectly as far as feeling valueless. And
I know.
I really felt for that lady before with the husband of Alzheimer's, because, and I think I've covered this with you a little bit, so I won't go into it too deeply, but my first husband, I was married to for 26 years, but the reason we got married is because I was 17 and he got me pregnant. And then once all my children left home and got married, I realized I was left with a man that I did not love. And I met my soulmate at a class reunion. I hadn't seen him in 28 years. He had married and divorced, and I got divorced, and met him at a class reunion in June of '99. And then I moved to North Carolina. I married him in May of 2000, and he passed away. And it is because he was my soulmate, because um, I miss him dearly, and I think I talked about this too. And I almost like have to have people validate me, and he validated me because he loved me more than anyone who's ever loved me. And I can only say that there may be three people that I think value me, and that's Lester, my husband, and then who passed away, or God first, and then Lester, and then I have three children, and I have one son that I think values me, and actually I have a poem.
We value you.
Huh?
Oh yeah.
We value you. Really, sincerely, we value you.
Oh,
You
I
call
appreciate
all
that.
the time, and we love
But
to hear your voice, because when you come in, it's like it's like a drab place that suddenly has a colorful canary, flying through the halls.
Appreciate
You
that.
have a way of bringing a kind of light into the
Well, thank
room.
you.
And by the way, it was a great.
The thing I had a hard time with it. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
I was just going to say it's been a great mix of callers. The OG callers and new callers. It's been fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I caught you on the tail end because I was saying goodbye to my daughter who came from Sacramento and was visiting me and her and my oldest son. And I really hurt them when I left their dad because I'd been married there for 26 years, and it took a long time for them to forgive me. So, Dr. Gary, I loved your poem, and I want to read you a poem that I wrote about this situation.
Oh, I'm honored.
Okay, and it's called the love she never knew. How could she know that the life she would live, the childhood she lost, the mother she could never forgive, would follow her through the rest of her life, would only cause her grief and heartache inside. The children she gave birth to, she would hold so dear that she would hurt them in a way that might never be healed. But before this would happen, they would be blessed in knowing they were loved by the best of the best. Their childhood she would accomplish, she raised them with such ease, they would feel her love in their hearts so deep. This love would last forever, this they would see. But life throws at you things you'd never expect. How could she know the pain she had lived would affect you in a way you might never forgive? Because of the love she never did feel as a child growing up, her heart never healed. The love she would find after all these years would wipe away her pain, but create new wounds that would always remain. She finally found someone to show her what love is. At last, this would be the life she'd always wanted to live. Her children could never understand the choice she had made, but then again, they had never experienced such pain. How the lack of love she never received had made her heart lonely, had made her heart bleed. She never meant to cause her children such pain. She knew that forever they would feel betrayed. The mom they so loved could never explain. The damage it would do to her children, she feared, would haunt her for the rest of her years. She finally found someone who loved her the way love always should be, and not to fulfill a selfish need. Her heart was now open. She knew she was loved. She felt she was valued. At last, her heart was filled with such joy and love. So, dear children of mine, it wasn't you. It was your mother's heart that was so very bruised. My childhood had failed me. My wounds never healed. And to this day, it hurts me still. I wrote that to my children.
How beautiful.
And but they forgive me now. They understand. But in fact, I'm good friends with my ex-husband, so everything's is good now. But I find, Dr. Gary, can you love too deeply? Can you love too much?
Oh, it's a good question. I think that a person could never love too deeply. It's more the idea that when you love so much that you let yourself get kind of abused. That in that sense, but the loving is never something you should feel guilty about. It's more the idea that it's more like, can you love so deeply that you forget that you also have to love you?
Yeah, and
That's more the idea. And so, your poem, what you did was you tried to make the kids understand that
right.
What was going on needed to be understood in the context of a kind of narrative in which there was an unfolding process of learning how to give and receive love, and and that it didn't work out, and that had nothing to do with anybody, you know what I mean, except that you needed to love you, that you needed to kind of take time for you, and that it was, I think you were basically saying, please don't judge me, forgive me. And and I'm sure they don't see it that way. They just see it that mom was doing what she needed to do for herself.
Well, they're fine now and with it, but and I have 3 children, and this is, I don't want to keep you too long because I know you've been on the air for a really long time now. But Dr. Gary, I have 3 children, and my oldest son is almost like my mother. He's very emotionally detached. He hardly ever calls me, or he never texts me, and I feel like I don't exist. In fact, he's the one that came down with my daughter to visit, and when we were at my one son's house, he didn't even. It was going to be the last time I would see him, and I don't know when. And he didn't hug me. He went out to his truck and never came and hugged me. I had to go out to the truck, and it made me hurt so bad. I had to go out to the truck and say, why didn't you hug me goodbye? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. And it's like I don't exist.
Yeah,
My
but try to understand before you get yourself worked up and burst into tears here. Try to understand that.
Always been that way, though.
I know. You're like a glass full of tears. Somebody hits you with the elbow and the tears come flying out. You have to kind of see it like this. If your whole life you've been looking for somebody to love you, and then you get a little taste of it and it feels kind of fragile and you're not sure of it and so forth, you're a little wobbly like an ice skater that isn't quite good at it yet. Little things will remind you, they'll pull you back into feeling rejected, and you have a reaction to them that are greater in proportion to what's really going on. So if you walk around feeling not loved and somebody doesn't say, oh, would you like to come over and join us at the table? You'll go home and say, nobody at my job likes me. Or if somebody forgets to say happy birthday in a text message or something like that, everything becomes like a symbol of what you're already feeling, that people don't fundamentally care about you. But what I'm trying to say to you is like anyone who knows you for 5 minutes would understand that you're an embodiment of the idea of kindness and love and so forth. And people just kind of take it for granted. It's like the way that most of us don't go around writing poems about how beautiful the sunrise is, because we've taken it for granted. If there was no sunrise, we'd all freeze to death and be gone in 5 seconds. We don't wax rhapsodic about, the movement of the earth or the seasons or whatever, because we take them for granted. And sometimes love is like that. We don't pause and go, boy, would I be in trouble without that. But believe me, to a lot of people, you are, the things we take for granted. You are, Tuesday following Monday.
You know what's interesting is my other son.
Right.
He just bought a house, and he bought it with enough bedrooms. So if I could not take care of myself, I would be able to live with him.
The same one who you forgot to hug you?
This is my other son. And he validates me. When I walk in a room, he actually smiles and looks like he's really happy to see me, as opposed to my oldest son, whom, you know, I almost raised him by myself up until he was 6 or 7 years old, because his dad was busy doing drugs and didn't want to be a father. And I don't know what I've done to make him treat me this way. Like you said,
why don't you just tell them how you feel?
I have.
And what was the answer? I mean, I don't want to turn this into a clinical conversation, but just
I know.
in a friendly way.
Many times.
What did he say?
He when I say something like that, he gets on the defensive and says, "Well, I don't think you like me very much." So because I express my thoughts to him, he says, "Well, you must not like me. You hate me." I said, "No, I can't talk to him because he just goes on the defense." And my daughter's she's in the middle. She texts me at least once a week. She'll text me in the morning and say, "How's your day going? Are you okay?" And I think she's the most probably balanced of my kids. But the son that makes me feel good, he and I are also a lot alike. I don't know how much that has to do with anything, but we're both very similar.
Usually the way it is when there's tension between people. That's usually because it's the person who's most like you, has the same insecurities, has the same issues, the same way. Right. Because what we don't like in other people or find frustrating in other people is because we can't abide that trait in ourselves. That's why, in a really weird way, I'm kind of strangely grateful for the people who don't like me, because they tell me the truth about myself. And they make me learn about myself. And if someone says, "I just don't like you. I think everyone loves you, but I don't,"
well,
that's very interesting to me. That's how you learn. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's hard to find say like somebody. Okay, it's hard to find a misogynist or a racist or somebody like that, because if you were to just walk up to somebody and say, "Hey," even if they are in their heart a misogynist or a racist or whatever it is, it doesn't have to be those two things, but it's something has a negative connotation towards, people. You say, are you that? And 99.9% of the time, they're going to say, "No, I'm not." How do you have a conversation? Like you just said, at least somebody's being honest with you when they say, "Hey," and I've told people this before, "I just don't like you." "Well, how come?" "I don't know."
Maybe you should expect more of them. And if used non-defensively, it can really make a person grow. Now, Josh, I've never had an occasion to say to you, "There's something you did I don't like." But if there was something, I would tell you.
Of course.
Right now, I'm sure I do.
My expectations.
You want to strangle me, but you don't tell me. But you should.
Do you think my expectations are too high because I was loved as a child by my mother or the aunt who raised me? I expect too much of them, and I expect them to love the same way I do. Because see, when I love someone, I really love with them, and I always bring more to the relationship than the other person does. And like if I have a best friend, I lose my best friends. They just go off and find someone better. Well,
I think let me put it this way. This is a good example of somebody arriving at an insight without the person talking to them having to say a word. If that's an insight that you just arrived at on your own, that is really worth thinking about, because it came out of your brain and your heart. And I think you should think about it. It's an interesting question, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Sometimes, you have to understand that when you're a person who loves without any gate, without any portcullis coming down to protect, that you can have expectations that other people will too. And a lot of times people do not. Not everyone the same way. And some people love in a very practical way. A lot of times people will say, like, they'll come to therapy and they'll say, "I have this father that went to work every day, came home, didn't say 2 words to me, never asked me how my day was. I don't even think he loved me." And then they'll ask their mother, and the mother will say, "Are you crazy? It's because he loves you that he goes to work every day and does that and whatever. And that's how he shows it." In other words, everybody has their own way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And let me tell you, I have had many, especially men, come to therapy and get teary-eyed and say to me, there's nothing in this whole world I want more than to tell so-and-so how much I love them, but I feel like a dork. It doesn't feel manly. It feels, we have too much tension between us. If I told them how much I love them, I'd feel like an idiot. I'd be too vulnerable, but I hate myself. But I can't tell them. And when they pass away one day, I'm going to be the one crying the loudest. That people say things like that. You don't know what's in somebody's heart. There are different reasons why people feel strange about saying certain things. You don't pay attention to what people say. You look at what they do, who is there for you, and things like that. That's how you know, not what they say. Talk is cheap.
And you know what? When my husband passed away, he was there for me. I mean, him and my daughter actually drove out to North Carolina to be with me to make sure I was okay. So, and it was a 3-day drive, there and then going back. So, but it's just not, he's not like, he's not there. If something really serious happened, he will be there for me. Like a few years ago, they thought I had suffered a stroke, and he flew right out to see if I was okay. Well, I didn't suffer a stroke, but so he is there for me if it
Sounds like he loves
really
you.
bad, but he's just not there for me.
Doesn't it sound like he loves you?
Sounds like he loves you.
He's not loving you in the way that you
love others.
Right. But that doesn't mean person doesn't love you. Nobody who loves you.
If your son, do you know how? Well, I'll say this: do you know how many children wouldn't get on a plane to go see their mother or father when they think that they had a stroke? I mean, I'm telling you, and I'm not giving you crap here, but that sounds like he really loves you a lot, and maybe he just isn't comfortable, or it's just not in him to sort of love the way that you expect, which should not stop you from loving him the way that you do. Meaning, everybody has a different way of expressing their love. Some people, like Dr. Gary said, there are men that would get up at 4:30 in the morning and climb power poles, all day, come home and tell the kids, hey, good to see you. I love you. I hope your day is good. I got to go to bed. And because, Susie wants a new clarinet, or, Bobby wants a new baseball bat. Well, the only way those things happen is when dad goes to work or mom goes to work. And, the fact that he would fly out and see you, is a beautiful, beautiful gesture of love. It really is.
Shows that in the final analysis, person doesn't want to think of life without you in it. And that's why you remember love is a verb. Don't think of it as a thing, a noun, whatever. Mm-hmm. That's a feeling. Forget it.
Right.
And, I know there are people in the audience that are saying dwelling on this is silly or whatever. I don't think it's silly. I don't think so at all.
Dwelling on what?
I don't think it's silly to dwell on it.
What are we dwelling on?
I don't know. I think the idea of whether somebody loves you, as far as I'm concerned, it is the primary. Take care. I think it is the primary thing. It's the primary question in life, really. So I think it's beautiful that you called. I think that in many ways you represent many people that are in the audience.
Absolutely.
So, it's funny. We do these calls, and I always rationalize to myself, the reason I like doing them is because I feel like we get to do good for people by being there for them. But I realize, more and more that actually it's that you guys put yourselves out there, and you become this sort of, these like everymen, every woman, every person that the people in the audience identify with, right? That make them feel human and vulnerable. And when we answer you, we're talking to everyone. And it's you guys that are teaching us, that you're teaching us something. And so I realized that part of the reason I love doing them is because I learn from them. Look at some of the things that we saw tonight. The incredible strength of some of the people that have called is just extraordinary, right? And yourself included. So I don't want you to read the comments and think that you're saying anything that is silly or pointless or whatever. I don't think so. Ignore that.
There's just one or two turd heads too, so it doesn't.
I just think that when you feel vulnerable, they don't like it. But I'm proud of you, and I think the truth is you have no reason to ever doubt that anybody would love you. I mean, you're a very lovable person, and I think
I appreciate that.
you do have a way of kind of making the heart kind of fill up and be happy that it's beating, you know. And so I really think that you're a good soul, and I don't think there's anybody who doesn't love you.
And we need to go to Applebee's soon.
Yes, I know. You remember? Okay, yes.
When she wrote me her tip, she called me herself the adoptive mama.
I loved it. It was beautiful.
So anyway, Josh, you hit on a good point. I think you're right about the expectations.
Yes.
I think I expect too much. You know, I expect them to think like I think or feel like
Yeah,
I feel.
love like you
and
love.
Dr.
And
Gary, what you said about rejection has a lot to do with my childhood, because all through my childhood I felt rejected. So thank you, both of you, for your insight, and I appreciate you taking the time with me.
Oh, thank you, Linda. We appreciate when you
We're
call.
always here for you. We love when you call.
Okay. All right. I'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye.
We'll see you then.
Do we have
Thank
anybody
you.
else, Josh? I mean,
That's it, man. We're done. We're done for the.
I could do one more.
There's no more. I took the link down.
Oh, it's a pity. Anybody have a question they want to just ask in the chat that they're
We can see.
embarrassed to call in about?
I am.
It's a very powerful show. They're always powerful.
I have one.
You know, sometimes I'm just amazed. I mean, I was so moved by the woman whose husband came to the phone. I just, that really got me. There was something about his voice and it was just so beautiful.
It really was, yeah, and you could tell that just like when you know how much she loved him, and he knows 100%. You know how much she loves him. It's a beautiful thing.
But you see how love has a way of perverting, not perverting is the wrong word, flipping on its head the world's ideas about success and luck and everything else. And it really makes you realize that if in the darkest times, if there is somebody there that loves you, you're luckier than a rich, famous, powerful person who has nobody. You don't judge the size of love. That's the symbolism of Christmas coming around the corner. The idea that love doesn't come in the form you expect. It can come in the form of an infant in a smelly stable. It comes in the way that it wishes. And I love the Christmas season. That when we get to this time of year, I love Halloween. I think it's a lot of fun, and I love Thanksgiving. I think
I've noticed that you're into Halloween.
I'm a big Halloween fan. Well, just because I think Halloween is the time when people they kind of explore the shadow side, right? And not that I like the darkness of it. I don't mean that. I just mean that you get to see, like when people wear a costume, to a psychologist, it's interesting to see what archetype they identify with for the costume. It's like they're wearing their unconscious inside out. So I sit, and I watch the parade and I go, oh, mom issues, dad issues, narcissist, I can learn a lot about people from the costumes, And one of the saddest things that happens at Halloween, in my opinion, is, especially to young women, is that so many of the costumes have been sexualized because like instead of just being a lawyer, it has to be a sexy lawyer. Instead of just being a doctor, it's a sexy doctor. Instead of being, why not just be a doctor?
Dr. Gary, for some reason, it's not popping up on my screen here, but this is a great question. Question, Dr. B, how do you deal with people you respect and admire in many ways who have an ideology that is expressed that you disagree with? Now, this is a great question.
Very difficult question.
Yeah, I know, but you brought it on.
Well, I mean, all right. I first of all, I think it is very important to understand that when you respect a person, you're not respecting them as a projection of what you think they are. You have to respect them for what they actually are. If you respect a person as an archetype, you become disappointed that they don't agree with everything you think. But if you respect a person for what the person actually is, they can have ideas that are not yours, and you can in fact learn from them. And so, no, I think the notion of respecting a person and discovering that they don't share the same point of view means nothing if you really care about a person as a person. And that's the difference. If because otherwise, what is the point that you're turning somebody into a hero simply because they stand for everything that you already value. If what you value can't be shaken and tested a little bit by somebody with a contrary opinion, then you don't believe it very firmly. And I like when a person disagrees. I mean, I think some of the best debates you'll ever have in your life with a person who just doesn't agree with you. And
yeah, I don't like
you and I, Josh, we don't tend to disagree very often. Every once in a while, we have a different opinion about it, but we don't have any disrespect for one another.
No, you know what? There's a lot of people that I admire and love and have the utmost respect for that are much more, I would say, political than I am. And I don't necessarily always agree with. First of all, politics are not something that I base something, or politics aren't exactly what I base my like or love for somebody on.
Yeah.
I am able to kind of sort of separate that kind of stuff. And if somebody somebody says something and that's what they believe and that's how they believe, and that's fine. I mean, I got no problem with it. Other people get very upset sometimes about it, but I'm telling you, it's just, to me, not it's not the defining factor. But yeah, I had my best friend that called in, you talked to him, Lucas.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, we disagree on, matter of fact, I've went as far as to say that his internet needs to be ripped out. And just he'll say something. I said, do you have any idea how insane that sounds to me? And he goes, well, it sounds insane to you. And I said, that's what I said. It sounds insane to me. And I think that that's fine. I don't even care. I mean, it's just how it is, people are different. People have different feelings about different things. And I don't base my entire like or love of somebody.
I don't know. It's an interesting question, because as the country gets more and more divided, and Thanksgiving and the holidays come around the bend, and we have that experience of sitting around and looking at people and thinking, I just don't agree with this person's entire philosophy. It's very hard, especially because now when it comes to politics, people get angry with each other. They believe that there's just this binary. Like, if you believe in this, you believe in everything that party stands for. And if you believe in that, you believe in everything. And some of the things you think the other party stands for, you actually think are evil. Like, you don't even think of them as just like different. You think like those ideas are actually like demonic or evil. And so you wind up hating each other, and by the way, happy Thanksgiving to the Canadians who yesterday, the 13th, celebrated it. It's still, depending on where you are. I mean, but I guess what I'm saying is, try to take that stuff and leave it at the door, and try to remember that, in the final analysis, these ridiculous divisions will end, and that both sides have fault and both sides have things that they're right about, and we can all learn from each other. And that as infuriating as it can be, as terrifying as it can be, there is going to be a day when the person that wore the gray uniform and the person that wore the blue uniform, like in the last Civil War or whatever, have to sit down with each other. Remember, for example, when we were in the period of Reconstruction after the last Civil War that we had in the United States. Now we're in the sort of cold Civil War, it feels like. Not a literal one, right? But in that literal one, you have to remember that in the period of Reconstruction, members of Congress who had fought on the battlefield against each other had to sit down in a room and compromise. Literally. The general in charge of one whole side became the president, and the other side had to listen to him.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a remarkable, and we've lost that. I mean, even in those days, the even the people who were having the most vile fights in the American Civil War still maintained some modicum of civility. I mean, for example, between the fights, sometimes they would have a particularly gifted musician, a fiddle player or a bugle boy or something, come out in like a kind of intermission in the fighting and perform. And they would listen, sitting on the lawn or whatever, eating, and then go back to killing each other. There's a kind of weird civility, you know? And I guess what I'm trying to say is, yeah, I do think that in a certain way, the truth always rises. I mean, you know, eventually, you know, we look at things through a historical lens and we go, boy, did a lot of people get sucked into that darkness. The question of what the darkness is for individuals to sort out, you know, in their own morality and their own. I refuse to get into what I think is right and what I think is wrong about these things, but not everyone could be right here. You know, there is a moral code that underlies these things. And I just would say that as a rule, I just think about something that was said by the figure that in my faith is the Savior, is the central figure. And one of the things Christ said is, a tree is known by its fruit. You look at the fruit that comes out of a person or a thing, and if what comes out of it is hatred and evil and bigotry and darkness and destruction, notice. And you have to think about that. Now, that is for a person to decide in terms of.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. But not everybody sees it the same.
Yes, not everyone sees it the same. But look at the fruit, and your conscience will know. And what happens sometimes is that people who want to be animal and aggressive and vengeful like having a permission structure to be animal and vengeful and cruel. But in the final analysis, if they examine their consciences, they know. Yeah. So, and the problem is that a lot of people, each side thinks that they have a monopoly on what is good, and the other side doesn't. When the Aurora Borealis happened during the American Civil War in the 19th century and was dazzling the soldiers from above, and they were looking up at it, both sides thought it was a sign from God that they were right. People all think they're right. But later, when the war was over and everybody shook their heads and came to their senses, it was very clear that only one side was right in that war. See? So that's the idea. And if things pull enough in two directions, you know, you can get a snap. So it's very, very important to always
not ruin relationships with your family over
anybody over it. I refuse, because in the final analysis,
I'm not going to do it either. I'm not doing that.
It's a growing pain. The culture is going through a growing pain, and in the end, a growing pain makes you better. The way I see it is that the deterioration is because the truth is rising to the top. But we need these periods of darkness to make us go, wait a minute. There are certain things that still matter. There are still some things in the world that are good. There are still some people where what they believe matters, because that's what we forgot. See,
correct.
That's what we forgot. That your philosophy is all that matters, and the why you do what you do is what matters. If you do what you do simply because the law makes you, you'll find wiggle room in the law, and have a permission structure in your own mind to do terrible, horrible things that wiggle through the law. But if you understand the spirit of the law, you would never do such things. See, and that's the idea. So in the final analysis, you get these people, you know, who think that they have a kind of righteousness, but you pay attention to what they do. And that's the important thing. Just because you got the Bible in your hand doesn't mean you believe anything that's in it.
That's beautifully said. Dr. Gary, we're at 3 hours, and that's about the time that my dogs get restless and have to go pee-pees.
Okay.
Pee-pees.
I'm sorry that the dogs have to go pee-pee.
Pee-pees. Plural.
Pee-pee. Well, pee-pee's out. It was nice to talk to you.
It was wonderful. By the way, pinned at the very top is Dr. Gary's channel. Go check it out. He is a fantastic pianist, and also a beautifully He's just like a beautiful silver fox. I saw what you said earlier.
That somebody wrote that as a comment. Yeah.
What's wrong with being a silver fox?
Nothing. It was such a nice compliment. I mean, because silver fox, apparently, because I looked it up, apparently this is a compliment.
You didn't know what a silver fox was?
I've never heard anybody use the term before.
Really?
What the hell? How would I know what that means? Now
okay, but wait a minute. Stop for a second. You don't know what a silver fox is, but you know that Calvin and Hobbes come from two friggin' theologians.
I don't live in the normal world.
Oh my God, dude!
I looked it up.
Everybody in this chat, everybody that's watching this show,
I found out.
I'm going to mute you. I'm muting you. Everybody in this chat knows what a silver fox is, and you had to look it up.
It isn't a term that I had heard applied, but I found out that people call Anderson Cooper that. He's given as like the example on the internet when you look it up. It basically means
you want to be like Anderson. You want to be like Anderson Cooper.
Understanding of no, I like him as a person though. Yes, actually, I don't know why I say he's a lovely person. Seriously, tell me what do you think silver fox means?
It just means somebody that's like in their 40s or 50s that has gone gray. That's a handsome person that has gone gray.
I think so, but I mean, of course, it has the whiff of something along the lines of like
it is inferring that you're older.
When you are expected to have withered, you still could pull it off. I mean, there's a little whiff of that.
No, that's your interpretation of
it. It kind of means, but I don't think it's an insult. I'm certainly
you don't know what it means because you had to look it up.
Now I know what it means, and I was very
you know what it means, and then you put your own little weird twist on it with your little,
At least they didn't say a silver cow. There's nothing wrong with being called a silver fox. Has an implication that is positive, and
but foxes are always used in those kind of things, like smart as a fox, because foxes are smart. You're not going to say smart as a cow.
But when a person says foxy, they mean attractive. When a silver fox means
foxes are used for a lot of different analogies. Yes.
Exactly.
You know why?
Herod was called a fox, of course,
because they're one of the smarter animals.
Yes, probably what it means. But the point is that it was a compliment. I don't know how you realized that somebody would you see that this was posted?
What?
You saw
I saw it. Yeah, I saw it. And I thought it was funny.
Yeah. Well, look, I don't think it's offensive, certainly not, but I was delighted to look up what it meant. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, like George Clooney is considered a silver fox.
It's a great thing. Listen,
I know. But for some reason
I'm thrilled that I have my hair.
I am too. I'm thrilled that you have your hair too.
Thank you. Well, do you?
What?
There you go. Look at us.
And I'm not silver yet, but hopefully.
Deteriorating testosterone.
Dr. Gary. Once again, link is pinned at the top.
So wait, hold on. So you're not silver?
No.
So what do you call yourself? What do people call you?
Nobody calls me anything.
Do they say you're a what are you, a brunette fox?
No, nobody says anything like that.
I'm sure that they say it. They just don't say it to your face.
A fox.
Of course, but listen, I see the things people say in the audience.
Like
Did you notice they you get flirted with all the time?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, stop! Of course you do. You pick of the litter here.
Pick a what? I mean, I just have some hair. That's it. Nobody calls anybody a brunette fox.
I don't know what they call you. They obviously call you something. When I was growing up, there used to be an expression: "You could call me anything you want, but don't call me late for dinner."
Yeah,
which sort of, in the final analysis, the truth.
Is that a fat joke?
It was a compliment. No, it's not a fat joke. Now, why would you say that?
Because, well, I was just gonna like the way that you interpreted silver fox is like, oh, well, you're kind of decrepit, but you still get it done. I was just doing kind of the same thing that you do and kind of throwing a little water on the fire
there. You were self-deprecating a little. You always do that.
I was doing that for you.
Well, both of us are ridiculous. In the final analysis, we should take our own advice that we give to all the other callers. And what we have to realize is that the truth is it wouldn't even matter if we were decrepit old trolls. We have good hearts. We care about people. We are successful people in the world, and anybody would be very lucky to have us. The rest, if anybody thinks that you're a brunette fox or I'm myself, that's fantastic, but it's not that important.
Yeah.
All that matters is that you wind up like these lovely people who call in and say that they have someone who they love so much that they can't bear the idea of life without them, and they don't care what they look like. That stuff is nonsense. But it is nice that people say nice things about us. That's a bonus.
That is nice.
Know what I'm saying? But
sure.
But remember, your heart alone would be enough.
I sure hope so. Because looks fade if you have them.
I know. And remember, I always love,
you'll be a decrepit fox.
That's true. I'll be a dead fox. I'll be skinned and taxidermied fox. But I love Judge Judy. I get a huge kick out of Judge Judy. She literally gives me like permission to scream and yell and whatever. And I love when Judge Judy has a person in front of her that's very physically beautiful, but they're not very bright. And she says, "Looks fade, stupidest forever."
Yeah.
This is like one of my favorite. I love that, But
yeah, well, it
fade, and
it reminds me like that on The Sopranos when Paulie was meeting with one of the other capos. It was Ralph Cifaretto he was meeting with, and Ralph was late, and Paulie goes, "You're late," and he goes, "He's on tomorrow. I'll be on time, but you'll still be stupid."
Paulie is the funniest.
Oh,
I cannot even listen to him without cracking up.
He's so good.
And he's got that kind of slight lisp.
Have you ever seen his interview? Like,
I can't handle him. He that actor just.
I know, but before he ever did The Sopranos, have you seen his? He just does a regular interview, like he's just being interviewed by people. He's the same exact person.
Really?
That's who he is. Yeah.
I knew someone who knew James Gandolfini very well. He was nothing like that. He was like a sweet, gentle soul. He was nothing like that character.
Oh, this is annoying.
I'm speaking to a hat.
No, you're speaking to me, but this is like he just like bit my ankle.
He's an ankle biter.
But
seriously, I knew someone who knew James Gandolfini, and they said he was nothing like that. Nothing.
Yeah, well, I've heard that too.
Absolutely nothing. And Nancy Marchand, she was nothing like that. The one who played his mother, nothing. The only cast member from that show that I met two of them. I met Drea de Matteo, and I met Lorraine Bracco.
Oh, okay, yeah, she's great. She was in Goodfellas too, right?
Yeah, she's amazing. I met her right after Ray Liotta died, and she really cared about him, as a person in real life. And when I met her, it was this convention of all these washed up celebrities, and I had no idea why she was there because she's extremely gifted. It was like weird that she was there. And I went up to her and I said, "What are you doing here? You should be like on Broadway or something. You're amazing." What? And I mean, Goodfellas alone. I mean,
that's one of the best movies ever.
I love her as a person. I mean, she's amazingly talented. The only other celebrity I ever said that to, because I've met a lot of
beautiful too.
Yes, that's true. And I remember because I meet a lot of celebrities in for various reasons, and outside. I mean, I'm not obviously talking about my clinical work. I mean, out in other areas of life. And I remember I went to this convention, very similar situation, and I met Amanda Plummer. Do you remember her? From I love her. I think she's amazing. And I said to her, "What are you doing here? You're like the most talented person in this whole joint. Like, go make a movie. Like, you don't belong here." They're like the guy who had a walk-on role in one episode of Leave It to Beaver. Like, who cares about you? But Amanda Plummer, she's amazing.
Yeah,
are you of her? And you ever see Pulp Fiction?
Of course.
She's like the funniest, like the most amazing. Best movie with her. If you want a movie recommendation, you got to go Walk the Dogs. Am I keeping you?
In a sec, I do, but
Okay,
go
so
ahead.
the quick version is you got to see with Robin Williams, who I know you posted about. I saw you post.
I love Robin Williams.
I love him too. I love him.
I met Robin Williams
when he was helping in the hospital, right? Yep. Yeah, lovely person.
Beautiful man. I'm telling you, man.
He used to make you hire homeless people to be in every movie he was in. He refused to. I met him because I went to the comic relief thing and I saw him live and but the movie with Amanda Plummer and Robin Williams you've got to see is The Fisher King. What a movie! Talk about a Jungian idea, right? Of him being the. Do you know what that movie's about?
No.
Okay, I'm giving you I got to give you the fast version because if one person goes out and watches it, they're going to thank me. Okay, can I give the quick version?
Yes.
It's amazing. Okay, this is what it's about. It's about a shock jock in the vein of a Howard Stern or Morton Downey Jr. Morton Downey Jr. played by Jeff Daniels, who is awesome always, right? And Jeff Daniels gets a phone call from a very depressed loner who says something like, I hate the world or whatever. And he, in an off the, in a kind of off the cuff kind of way, says something like, why don't you go kill them? And this guy goes out with a shotgun and commits a mass shooting through the windows of a restaurant. Okay. Now, Jeff Daniels gets so depressed, he drinks heavily, ties a Pinocchio, because of the idea of being a phony, he ties a Pinocchio doll to his leg and decides he's going to kill himself by jumping into the water. And a bunch of homeless men, one of whom is Robin Williams, portraying the homeless in a beautiful way, save him from suicide. And Jeff Daniels gets the idea in his head that if he could save the life of the schizophrenic homeless man, played by Robin Williams, he'll redeem himself. And what he finds out is that Robin Williams was an English teacher who was on a date in the restaurant where the shooter came in, and the bullet exploded the head of Robin Williams' date onto Robin Williams. And Robin Williams went into a psychosis where this English teacher begins believing that the red knight that rides on a medieval style horse is haunting him. It represents his grief and won't allow him to love again. And Robin Williams believes that he's the Fisher King, this medieval legend. And he carries around a garbage can lid as a shield and a fake weapon. And what happens is he falls in love with this ridiculous woman, a deranged local woman played by Amanda Plummer, who he thinks is like a kind of a Guinevere figure. He adores her. And Jeff Daniels and his girlfriend, played by Mercedes Rule, who I think got an Oscar for it, talk about an awesome actress, decide that they are going to collaborate to win this woman over for Robin Williams. And then he is going to suddenly find happiness, and there will be an act of redemption. Daniels. Oh, what a movie. And then, of course, because he's got this obsession with all things medieval, he goes into a coma, and it turns out that he thinks that a trophy that's in the window of this building, this castle-like building in Manhattan, is the Holy Grail. And so Jeff Daniels decides he has to scale the building and get the trophy that belongs to some random person and give it to Robin Williams to bring him back to life, because he'll have the grail that heals him, like in the Fisher King story. It is so beautiful, that movie. It was made by Terry Gilliam, who is one of the members of Monty Python. The most beautiful movie, the most beautiful scene in the movie, which cost them millions of dollars to make because they needed to rent what's the station? Oh my God, why did Grand Central Station? They had to rent Grand Central Station. Is this scene where all the strangers in Grand Central Station start waltzing with each other to a Strauss waltz, because Robin Williams sees the woman that he loves walking through the crowd, and then when he sees her, everybody is going into a kind of a dance, and that's how he feels about her, And what a movie! Oh man, you got to see that movie. You're gonna love it.
I'll check in with you on the next one.
Oh, I could name movies like that all day that moved me, but man, do I love that movie. And as a schizophrenia expert,
hey, quick,
it meant a lot to me. Anyway, listen, let me
crazy
anymore. And
Dr. Gary, thank you so much for being here.
And thank you for being a fisher of men. Okay,
Thank
I will talk to you later.
Take care. All right, guys, what a great show. Otis has something he's chewing on, and he's begging for attention. So I will have to take him out. I appreciate you guys so much for being here. Thank you so much for everything. We'll do it again very soon. And thank you guys. Appreciate it. You know, honestly, from the bottom of our hearts. Yeah. Thanks.